Funding for the 2016 Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is made possible through generous community support. Longer than streetcars have been rolling down the tracks, Iberia Bank has been part of the New Orleans landscape. We believe in making our community better by giving back through charitable, educational, and cultural efforts that enhance our city, such as this broadcast on WYES. The Gustav Westphal McElhenney Family Foundation supports the renewal of New Orleans and the ongoing process of transforming our city's schools. Rex organization volunteers and the Pro Bono Publico Foundation are helping assure that every child in New Orleans can attend an excellent school.
New Orleans wouldn't be New Orleans without wrought iron, or the cathedral, or its ancient live oaks. And New Orleans wouldn't be New Orleans without Whitney Bank. Whitney Bank, a part of the fabric of New Orleans.
Terry White and Ralph Brennan celebrate Brennan's restaurant's 70th year with Chef Slade Rushing's modern interpretations of classic Creole cuisine, served in Brennan's elegant dining rooms, roost bar, and courtyard. Brennan's, 417 Royal Street in the French Quarter. Fidelity Bank, as New Orleans as king cake, parades, beads, doubloons, and the families that get together to celebrate them all. Serving this community since 1908. Hail Rex, hail Comus, happy Mardi Gras. Support is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of legal services to a wide range of local, regional, national, and international client base. Online at joneswalker.com. The Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is also brought to you by Riley Foods and French Market Coffee. For the past 125 years, French Market Coffee has brought you all the flavor of New Orleans in a cup. Christwood, a retirement destination located in St. Tammany Parish, features cottages and apartment homes along with the assurance of quality health care. Personal tours are available. The New Orleans Tourism Marketing Corporation wishes visitors and citizens a happy Mardi Gras and a great year ahead. New Orleans visitor information available at followyournola.com.
Adler's, honored to be part of New Orleans traditions since 1898.
And by Robert Fresh Market. Do you speak fresh? And Lakeview Grocery on Harrison Avenue. Abita Beer, craft brewed for the way Louisiana loves to live. Support comes from Baker Donaldson, lawyers and advisors proud to serve the business community and support local programming. Chaff McCall, proud to celebrate Carnival and honor the monarchs of Mardi Gras and the tradition of service before self. Poydras Home, independent living, assisted living, and nursing care in the heart of Uptown. This program is sponsored in part by a donation honoring the Pro Bono Publico Foundation's work in support of excellent schools for all New Orleans children. Additional support by Bellwether Technology. The law firm of Adams and Reese. Mr. and Mrs. Jonathan McCall. Mignon Faget. Galatoire's Restaurant. Live from the Sheraton Hotel and the New Orleans Marriott Hotel on historic Canal Street, bordering the French Quarter, WYES presents the 2016 Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus. And now, here is Peggy Scott Laborde.
Good evening, I'm Peggy Scott Laborde, and welcome to our broadcast of the 2016 Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and the mystic crew of Comus. We'll visit with royalty past and present, and we'll look back at Mardi Gras 50 and 100 years ago. The King and Queen of Carnival have already had a busy day. Let's see what they're up to the rest of the year. Adelaide Dabazy's Goodyear's parents took her to Antoine's restaurant to break the news that she would be the 2016 Queen of Carnival, and gave her a surprise that she will never forget.
We went to the Rex room, looked at all the invitations, we got to the Queen's dress, and I told them, "You're lucky you're not getting me a gold dress this Mardi Gras." Little did I know, we next went to the mystery room at Antoine's, where they handed me the scroll that the captain wrote for me as a poem. And I read through the poem and I got to the last line and was absolutely shocked to read that it was Queen of Carnival.
The 2016 Queen of Carnival joins other family members who have been members of the Rex Court. Her Aunt Constance Collins Dabazies was a maid in 1988, and her uncle, Oliver Clement Dabazies, was a duke in 1994. Miss Goodyear shares her memories of a family carnival tradition.
Our family used to always dress up as cows, and we had little calf suits for babies and for people of all ages and sizes. I was always a little calf.
Her Majesty is well traveled, having lived all over the world, including China, London, and Australia. But her family has always kept New Orleans and Mardi Gras close to their hearts.
Our first Mardi Gras in Australia, my dad and my mom held a party in our backyard, and my dad stood on the diving board and threw throws out to all the kids as you would at Mardi Gras.
Currently attending Yale University, Goodyear studies geology and enjoys sharing her love of art with others as a tour guide at the Yale Art Gallery. She also enjoys visiting other galleries and museums.
I love going to the art gallery and touring people around, and we go every week and discuss the different pieces of art and really teaching people how to view art and how you should try and access it, because it's really fun to be able to show people how to look at something differently.
Outside of the art galleries, this year's Queen also enjoys jogging. Reigning as Queen of Rex 2016 has provided Adelaide with a unique opportunity to come back to this city for an extended amount of time.
It's been really wonderful having a renewed connection with New Orleans, but really spending time here and getting to know the city a lot better. It's made me realize that I've always wanted to keep a part of New Orleans in my life somehow, and it's been a really fun way to really make more of a base here.
Michael W. Kearney, chairman and CEO of the logistics company, the Kearney Companies, Inc., was shocked to learn that he would reign as the 2016 King of Carnival.
I had a call from a Rex member, and he asked if I could meet at his office, and so I thought it was about business, but when I opened the door to his office, there was the committee, and at that moment I realized that they were going to ask me to be Rex 2016.
Years before Kearney was chosen to reign, his three sons were members of Rex royalty. Michael Wormuth Kearney Jr. served as a page in 1979. David Wilkins Kearney served as a duke in 1996, and William Wilkins Kearney also served as a duke in 1998. More recently, his daughter Niquette LaCour Kearney reigned as Queen of Carnival in 2001. Kearney hopes that his reign will follow in his daughter's graceful footsteps.
I hope that I can have her poise and her confidence. I know she did very well with it, and I hope I'm up to the task.
Involvement in the Rex organization is truly a family affair, as Rex's wife, Susu, has designed the costumes for Rex float riders for many years.
Susu works very hard for Rex. She loves doing it. It's a hobby, it's not work, and she starts working almost the day after Mardi Gras for next year's parade. She really enjoys doing it.
This year's Rex also serves on the board of the New Orleans Business Alliance and as vice chairman of the Board of Commissioners of the Port of New Orleans.
I've always had an interest in the port and its economic impact on this city and region. And so it's been a lot of fun, a lot of challenges in these last 4 years serving on the Board of Commissioners to try and make New Orleans be what it can be, realize our potential.
Outside of work, Kearney enjoys playing tennis. Michael Kearney believes that the celebration of Mardi Gras has played a key role in the rebuilding of New Orleans.
You can't duplicate Mardi Gras anywhere. People have tried, cities have tried. They can't do it because it's in the psyche of the citizens here. You're born into Mardi Gras in New Orleans, and it doesn't leave you. If you recall, in 2006, after Katrina, the national press didn't think we should parade. The national press didn't understand New Orleans. We paraded, and you might say it jump-started New Orleans in its recovery.
And welcome again to our live broadcast. Joining me this evening are Errol Laborde, editor of New Orleans Magazine and author of the book Mardi Gras, Chronicles of the New Orleans Carnival. Dr. Stephen Hales, by day a noted New Orleans pediatrician. Stephen is a Rex official and archivist for the organization. He is also the author of Rex, an illustrated history of the School of Design. And we want to thank our friends at Louisiana Public Broadcasting. We are being shown statewide on their LPB2 channel, and we're also streaming our broadcast live at WYES.org. Welcome, Errol and Stephen.
Hi.
We are in the Kings and Rex, of course, is Winter Palace. It's a regal setting, and you'll be seeing the beauty of the throne momentarily. But we have so much to talk about. First up, it's already been a busy day. Here we go. Almost spring-like setting. It's just gorgeous, and the traditional Rex throne here. And we'll be telling you a little bit later about details, some interesting details about what it takes to put together such a majestic setting. But first off, Lundi Gras. Errol, you were there, the 30th annual.
I was there. The event has grown immensely in the same way that the word Lundi Gras in the last 30 years has taken off. It's always exciting when Rex arrives, and and for the last 2 years he's arrived by train. For most of Rex's history, they've arrived by boat, most recently by Coast Guard cutter, but he's taken to the rails now, and so here's his arrival by train. Here he is on the stage. There's Mayor Landrieu, and a big moment is when Rex reads a proclamation declaring all sort of things for the next day. That's the captain of Rex right there. He's introducing Rex, who played the role well. He was very, very regal.
Is actually saying a little bit.
Yeah, this is where he's reading the proclamation, asking that the next day be a day of.
And he's talking, so we get to hear a little bit of that.
First degree of pleasure for all. For the day and the most glorious day of tomorrow, Mardi Gras, Your Royal Majesty, the key to the city.
So here they ask the mayor if he would agree with Rex's proclamations, and he's warned that if he doesn't, everybody's got to go home. And then they always have a surprise visitor, the same surprise visitor every year, Zulu. And the crowd goes crazy. The crowd really loves this. And to me, this is one of the great moments of Mardi Gras, to see Rex, Zulu, and the mayor all on the stage at the same time. And it's just a big love fest. And what they're about to do now is they're going to do their countdown. They have this scientific apparatus with a plunger, and they go, crowd counts from 10 to 0, and then there goes the fireworks. And it is a great moment.
It certainly is. And Stephen, those folks who arrive on the train, his royal guests, actually there's a nice invitation that comes with it, huh?
Yeah, a little gathering before we board the railroad cars and head in, really derived from old art from a really very old invitation to Carnival. Rex always proclaimed Carnival and always invited people to come, and railway transportation in New Orleans was a key way of getting here. So using the train as that symbol and as that means, this was an invitation that actually the original art had train schedules on the back.
Very nice.
So it is a return to our traditions, and we had a nice group of people accompany Rex down to Riverwalk, and it really was a lovely celebration.
His royal retinue. Now, the king and, of course, and queen had to get up early this morning for the royal run, right, Errol?
Yes, a former Rex, the late Bowden O'Reilly, started many years ago. The Rex Royal will run at 7 o'clock in the morning. Bowden O'Reilly died last year. His son, Bo O'Reilly,
this is Audubon Park,
takes charge
of course.
now. But this is Audubon Park, and that's the starting gun.
There's a tribute
special
from Rex.
person to Mardi Gras. He meant so much to the entire festival, and he was just a great guy, and God bless him. Well done.
Our reporter, Justin Winston, estimated there are about 150 people there. There's the gun, and there's the race. And incredibly, since they've done this, the Queen has won again, every year.
I understand the king cake. There was a king cake shaped like a crown that was served too.
So another victory. It shows you what a long day it is for the King and Queen, though, starting off with the royal run and going into the wee hours of the next morning.
Also in the morning was a special flag ceremony in front of the den.
Yep, we've done this for a number of years now. We gather in the courtyard of the den. We raise the flag, the American flag that was sent to us from Iraq by the crew of Baghdad. We always have the singing of the national anthem. The Marine Band is there to provide music. A blessing on the parade from Monsignor Nalty, and then it's off to the floats. Toasts from His Majesty and the captain. Really a happy occasion, and on such a beautiful day. What a blessing today to have sunshine.
And speaking of beautiful, we had a beautiful parade, Royal Gardens, the theme. We'll show a little bit of that, and you can illuminate us on some of the floats here at the Intercontinental, where the traditional toast takes place with the Queen and King of Coral.
The purpose is to toast this beautiful Queen, Adelaide Goodyear. Adelaide, I've been waiting for this moment for, it seems like an eternity, but we're here. And I want to raise my glass to you in this lovely, lovely court and these fine-looking gentlemen. And just say I hope you all have as much fun as I'm having today and that we're going to have tonight. And so I say, Queen Adelaide.
Now, I understand the Boeuf Gras has been freshened up, Stephen?
Yes, each year one or two of our permanent floats go in to be to brighten up the colors and to repair any damage. We like, on a day like this, you just hate to have dreary colors, and a beautiful parade around a garden theme. Last year it was wars, and our floats had battleships and cannons, and this year it was all about flowers. Beautiful gardens from antiquity.
And we've got the Tulane Band.
Yeah, this is something really special. The Tulane Band was celebrating its 10th anniversary. It had started before Katrina, had a hard time coming back. It started again, and so they've been marching for 10 years. It's students who are working for credit at Tulane, but also students from other universities that don't have a marching band can also participate in it.
Wow.
And so the Tulane Marching Band is New Orleans' only college marching band. It was really special to see them.
These sculptures are lovely. On Boboli Gardens, many have traveled to Florence, and I think His Majesty's sculptors are doing just superb work. The 400th anniversary of William Shakespeare's death was commemorated by this float. Some local English professors, John Bigonnet, suggested we might devote a float to that. Also, our beloved local sculptor Enrique Alferez, who did so much work at City Park. A special, lovely float devoted to him. That figure, the water bearer, is the sculpture on the botanical gardens of the City Park float.
Well, this theme, is this something that you have fun with too? Do you give a little bit of input among others on the committee?
We have a nice committee that works with this, and I think this float is a good example. We have the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, but in New Orleans we have beautiful gardens. This sculpture by Enrique Alferez is well known and is now part of a sculpture garden that was recently dedicated in the City Park Botanical Gardens. Paul Soniat, the director there, provided these images of some of Enrique Alferez's sculptures. So New Orleans has much culture, much art, and Enrique Alferez is part of that. He didn't just do sculptures, even some of the bridges there at City Park he designed, and his memory is very well respected there.
And a nod
Congratulations on that float, because I think that meant a lot to local people to see something that they grew up and they were familiar with, and to see it staged as a float. It's beautifully done.
And a nod to Artistic Director Henri Schindler and Kern Studios for executing that entire parade with a lot of artisans who've worked on those floats for years and years.
Yeah, I think, we talked about the golden age of Carnival being the pre-World War I years, and yet I think what I see now is design and art and artistry that rivals that, not just in floats, but in invitations and jewelry and costume design. It's a wonderful time for Carnival.
And speaking of beautiful things, wanted to show you this year Rex had its very own scarf by an artist named Ashley Longacre, and lots of butterflies and hummingbirds on this scarf.
Yes, indeed. Ashley Longshore is a very popular young artist now, and perhaps not the first artist associated with Rex, but Ashley did a beautiful job bringing images of butterflies and gardens from the theme of this year, and created a lovely scarf.
Yes, and also naturally every year Rex invented the doubloon thanks to H. Alvin Sharp and Darwin Fenner. Let's show you the doubloon, which depicts, of course, the theme this year, right, Stephen?
Royal Gardens, Horti Regis,
Ladies and gentlemen,
the first individualized throw. So
Thank
it's
you.
it gets us back into the fact that Carnival is old, but it always has to be new again.
Absolutely, and we're hearing the voice of our announcer tonight, Mark Romick, who has been performing that tour for many years by day as the head of New Orleans Tourism and Marketing. And one more little
Also the
show
voice
and
of
tell.
the Saints game, you know, touchdown.
The voice of the Saints, that's right, exactly. And you know, for such an historic event, it is only fitting that we include a few historical questions to test your knowledge of Carnival history. We'll have 3 questions during tonight's broadcast with some wonderful prizes for viewers who submit all 3 correct answers. And we see the dance floor being cleared in preparation for the beginning of our ball. In just a few minutes, we'll be hearing from the Marine Corps Band New Orleans, which is just always a highlight. They'll be performing a number of songs, including some very familiar ones as well.
The Marines had quite a presence this Mardi Gras. They sent in some other units from out of town in addition to the local unit, and they even had equestrian Marines, mounted Marines. That was a pretty impressive sight too. So they were fairly active in Mardi Gras this year.
Mm-hmm. And we're just a few minutes away from the Marine Corps Band. As we said that we will, looking forward to them. They're really one of the highlights of the ball too. And the whole possibility that they're all actually on active duty, so it's not only that they're just playing, but we're also going to be showing you the Rex invitation first by a noted artist.
Indeed, Billy Solitario, a local artist. This is the first Rex invitation that was created from a commissioned oil painting. Beautiful magnolias connecting to the Royal Gardens theme. Billy, very accomplished local artist, and I think just a nice nod to both the theme and again a local artist producing this sort of work is part of what Carnival brings to the city.
And the ball program, there we go. And it was die cut, sort of unfolded and unfolded.
It did. Getting that to tuck together required both a good printer and a little teasing of pixels by the.
Exactly. And then the program, you always take a lot of care
and
with
that's
that.
Billy. Actually,
Billy at it.
in his studio doing his work. Yep. The ball program takes art from some old Rex documents, but Matthew Hales creates this every year around the theme, and I think the lovely muted colors and the old feel of that just speaks to tradition and to what the Rex organization represents in Carnival. Carnival is broad and deep now, but it has its oldest traditions publicly in the School of Design, and that lovely seal and emblem on the back cover with a tulip underneath is quite special.
And we move on to the
proclamation this year. Tucker Fitzhugh, another wonderful local artist. Tucker created this again with the theme in mind. Royal Gardens, he thought that His Majesty's most perfect garden would be Louisiana's wetlands. So there you have a lovely montage. Again, butterflies, an old symbol of Carnival, and a lovely work of art that proclaims Carnival. That's always been Rex's role. Rex proclaims Carnival. That's one of the things Rex has to do. And the annual proclamation is now an art poster that's become very much part of our season.
And we have an edict.
The edict. We talked about Rex's purpose. The founders wanted to bring visitors here. So what do? You send out commands and edicts that people should come. We command you to come to New Orleans and celebrate Carnival. Those old documents found their way into railway stations. Now we produce this document, introduce it at 12th night at the mayor's event, and then the tourism and marketing people send this all over the world. So think of it as millions of train stations that have His Majesty's art and His Majesty's edict. And if you looked at the streets today, you'll know that a lot of people obeyed that command
to
gather to New Orleans and celebrate Carnival, and they did celebrate.
And we have a very historic nod to the beauty of artistry of the parade, and that is the bulletin.
The bulletin. We wouldn't know about the golden age of Carnival and the beauty of those parades if they hadn't been preserved in parade bulletins. We started this over a decade ago, bringing those back. The The float sketches are by Manuel Ponce of Kern Studios. Matthew Hales does the bulletin art and pulls these together into a modern bulletin that preserves these lovely parades as more than just a memory. There's Perdita's Garden again, William Shakespeare's float, the Botanical Garden. Manuel Ponce makes lovely art. We pull that together into a lovely bulletin.
You know, Stephen, now that the Advocate is running those bulletins, I think more and more people are able to pay attention to the design. They can study them, they can analyze them, and I think that's for the long run good for Mardi Gras.
Right. And in just a few minutes, we'll be hearing the Marine Corps Band New Orleans, and earlier this evening, I had the opportunity to talk to Gunnery Sergeant Justin Hauser, the enlisted conductor of the band, for a behind-the-scenes perspective. And we are so glad to have Gunnery Sergeant Justin Hauser with us in preparation for the ball, the big night. How many parades do you all perform in?
Well, this year we marched in 8 parades, or about over 40 miles. So we marched our last one last night, and the Marines were excited that they get to be off their feet for a few miles.
I bet.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what a lot of people don't realize is that everybody has to be combat ready, too.
That is correct. When our band program, we go to boot camp just like any other Marine, go to combat training. Myself, I've actually been deployed twice to Iraq. And when you're over there, music is your least and last mission. We are usually serving a security role wherever our general needs us.
Well, for this year's Carnival, you had to bring in reinforcements, didn't you, for all these parades?
Yes. We brought in 2 other bands, one from North Carolina, Cherry Point, North Carolina, and one from Parris Island, South Carolina, just to support so everyone can get the pleasure of seeing a band in a parade.
The inevitable question, what is your favorite song to perform in the band?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would have to say Stars and Stripes, and that's just because of the reaction the crowd every time. They love that tune, they hear it, people start clapping along, humming along, and it's always great to hear.
Well, we look forward to hearing the band tonight, and thank you so much for being with us. Thank you. And as we mentioned, the floor is actually decorated by Mardi Gras Productions. Blaine Kern Jr., of course, Blaine Kern, the family, Blaine Kern, have been very involved with parades over the years. And Blaine Kern Jr. does a lot of carnival balls very, very elegantly. And Steve Connect is somebody who's been working on this ball for years. And their whole staff, Kern's whole staff, work very hard. It's a mix, if you could tell, of the flowers. It's very spring-like. And just the regal nature of it, the use of the gold and the emblems in the rear. You can also see, of course, the throne, which is awaiting a king and a queen. And the flowers are a mix of chrysanthemums and many, many roses.
For its 145th reception
Once again,
ball,
the voice of Mark
the
Romick.
Rex organization is proud to salute the men and women of the United States Armed Forces, particularly those serving in combat zones around the world. This evening, we are honored by the presence of the Marine Corps Band New Orleans. The officer in charge is Chief Warrant Officer 3, Michael J. Smith from Harvey, Louisiana. Tonight, the band is led on the march by Drum Major Gunnery Sergeant Stacy Beebe from Alvin, Texas.
Is established in 1978. The Marine Corps Band is comprised of 51 active duty men and women that represent the Command, Reserve, Marine Forces Reserve, and their home is New Orleans. They travel around the country performing for millions of people each year, supporting military ceremonies for Marine Reserve units, as well as hundreds of public events in support of Marine Corps recruiting command efforts and national community relations campaigns. Most recently, they performed their annual Santa Meets Sousa concert production, benefiting Toys for Tots, as well as numerous coronation balls and parades throughout the season, carnival season.
Taking his position is the band's enlisted conductor, Gunnery Sergeant Justin Hauser from Albany, New York. The first selection that the band will play tonight is a famous and popular song. Whenever anyone hears this tune anywhere in the world, they immediately think of the city of New Orleans. Please enjoy the band's rendition of The House of the Rising Sun.
The House of the Rising Sun is a traditional folk song, sometimes called Rising Sun Blues. It tells of a life gone wrong in New Orleans, urging a sibling to avoid the same fate, and made famous by the Animals band in 1964. From Clayton, New Jersey, our soloist on trumpet.
The Marine Corps Reserve was established on August 29th, 1916, making this year the centennial anniversary of that establishment. New Orleans will play a crucial role in celebrating that centennial, as a year-long celebration will soon kick off in this city. Since 1916, Marine Reserves have participated in every major military action that has threatened our country. For 41 of its 100 years of existence, the headquarters of the Marine Corps Reserve has been located in New Orleans, and we hope it stays here for many years to come. The band's next feature, Selection, pays tribute to Reserve Marines by focusing on the battles where they have made some of their greatest contributions, the island-hopping campaigns of World War II in the Pacific. Roughly 70% of the Marines in World War II were reservists. The selection is called Song of the Marines, and it honors the unbelievable contributions of Marines in World War II.
At that time, that at every given moment they could be shoving off to another Pacific island. Let's listen as the band performs Song of the Marines.
No Marine Band performance would be complete without the playing of our national march, John Philip Sousa's immortal, "The Stars and Stripes Forever."
Always great to hear John Philip Sousa.
Ladies and gentlemen, the piccolo soloist this evening is Staff Sergeant Carlos Garza from Laredo, Texas. All present, please rise for the presentation of colors and join in the singing of our national anthem. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. The band's final selection is the Armed Forces Medley, in honor of all military members who have served this great nation. If you have ever served, are currently serving, or are the family member of a service member deployed, we ask that you please stand and be recognized when you hear your service song.
Rex has invited 131 members of the military to the ball this year. A mix of Reserve and National Guard personnel, and senior officers as well as enlisted personnel.
United States Navy. United States Coast Guard. United States Air Force. United States Marine Corps.
The officer of U.S. Marine Reserves, General Mize.
The Rex organization asks that you join together in a warm round of applause for the members of the Marine Corps Band.
And Rex has long had an affiliation with the military.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, the Marine Corps Band, New Orleans.
Wonderful connection of Rex and the military couldn't be better exemplified by the presence of the Marine Band in each of our Rex balls. I can't imagine this going on without them.
And they are kicking off the beginning of our Rex Ball, and we await our royalty for 2016. And we await the arrival of the heralds, the trumpeters, as well as the whistle.
The all-powerful silver whistle.
Absolutely. And I want you to meet our trumpeters tonight. Dr. Todd Engelhardt and Barney Floyd. And the appearance of our Rex lieutenants.
There they are.
Purple, gold, and green. And to the left is Barney Lloyd, and to the right is Dr. Todd Engelhardt. Barney is a 3-time Grammy nominee and winner. He's played and recorded with Dr. John and many other performers. And Dr. Engelhardt is a thoracic and cardiac surgeon in Metairie. And he has his own band called New Orleans Arrhythmia, as well as New Orleans Band Concert. And they have both been the heralds for many years.
And the trumpeters accompanied us to Riverwalk last night for the arrival.
And the crowd loved it. The crowd had never seen something like that. You know, 2 royal trumpeters come on and do their heraldry. It was wonderful.
And Rex and his queen have arrived. Mr. Michael Kearney and Adelaide Dabazies Goodyear have entered the building. Mr. Kearney currently is the chairman and CEO of the Kearney Companies, Inc., a New Orleans-based logistics company that supplies the needs of many large importers and exporters in the Port of New Orleans. And he also serves as chairman of the board of the Kearney Page Warehouse Services in Savannah. And he has served on the Super Bowl Task Force Commission that successfully brought the first Super Bowl to New Orleans. He is also on the Port of New Orleans board. He currently serves as the vice chairman. And Miss Goodyear has quite the resume already, and she attends Yale College but has traveled around the world with her family.
Even as they lived in Australia and in China and in England, they never stopped coming back to New Orleans. This is a daughter of New Orleans. She was born here. Her grandfather, Oliver Dabazies, a beloved ophthalmologist and wonderful mentor in my early years here. Wonderful author also. But Adelaide is a citizen of the world and a wonderful queen of Carnival.
And let me read to you a description of her beautiful dress, the Queen of Carnival's gown of gold solstice scallop lace, layered over gold metallic and silk chiffon. It was created by Cezanne St. Paul. The stripe and scalloped pattern of the lace is sculpted into a trumpet silhouette with a sweetheart neckline. A jewel-encrusted band defines the waist of the gown. The scallop edging of the lace creates an ornate pattern on the bodice and skirt yoke. Additional crystals, encrusted scallops frame the sweeping hem of the gown. Sprays of intricate floral beading inspired by the 2016 theme of the Rex Parade, Royal Gardens, trail up from the hem and weave throughout the bodice. The floral pattern designed by St. Paul is made of Swarovski crystals, seed beads, bugle beads, sequins, and metallic threadwork. The gown's motif was inspired by the flora of China and Australia, 2 of Miss Goodyear's childhood homes.
Absolutely beautiful gown and beautiful queen. Adelaide is almost certain, I'm confident she's our first queen of Carnival to speak Mandarin.
Yes, this is a first for us. And her interests are very wide range, but including global affairs and art. Yale University, the art galleries, she's a tour guide as one of her extracurricular activities. She also is a volunteer in supervising an after-school club for disadvantaged children. She was also in the Combined Cadet Force, the United Kingdom version of the ROTC. She was a Lance Corporal and a model UN delegate.
And Mike Kearney, here's a man whose career, both in his business life and his civic life, is centered on the lifeblood of New Orleans, its commerce and the river, the railways. He's been in his business life so successful in our business here in New Orleans, which is to have lots of goods come in and go out.
And he is always also happens to be an avid tennis player, and I understand you play tennis with the King of Carnival?
The King of Carnival has always won.
He always wins.
He's a very competitive player in the southern region and senior tournaments, very tenacious. We've encouraged him to swing his scepter more gently than his racket.
And we await our maids and dukes shortly, as soon as the King and Queen of Carnival get settled on the throne.
You know, when Kearney was toasting the mayor at Gallier Hall today, he made reference to bananas. And yes, we got bananas now.
Yeah. Yes, we have bananas, that's right.
At the fort, so I think he was active in that pursuit.
We have two busy pages out there, Walker Montgomery and Tommy Wisdom.
And we'll get to meet them a little later. But first, pages, as always, are so helpful with the mantles, which are fairly heavy, aren't they?
They are.
His Majesty Rex and his Queen, 2016. And note the symbol of the King of Carnival, the crown in the center of the canvas that is made especially for Rex.
It's been a long day for our young pages, and they've done admirably well. Lovely young men.
Anne Milling and the wife of the King of Carnival on the right, Susan Kearney.
What a wonderful woman.
First up, we meet Miss Isabella Slatten Healy, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Hyde Dunbar Healy. She is a junior at the University of Southern California, majoring in critical studies. And after graduation, she hopes to pursue a career in screenwriting. And her duke is Mr. William Pierce Freeman, and he's the son of Mr. and Mrs. Lewis McDaniel Freeman. And he's a senior at the U.S. Military Academy, majoring in general business administration.
And when you get to the Freeman families and the Wisdom families, there are lots of members of past courts. 4 kings, 3 queens, 2 dukes, and 2 pages by my count.
Quite the lineage. And following behind each of the maids and the dukes are former kings of Carnival. I think I spot John Charbonnet and Dennis McDonald back there. And next up is Miss Shelby Heath Sharp Meckstroth, and she is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Jeffrey Allen Meckstroth. She is a junior at Sewanee, University of the South, where she's in pre-med. Her mother was presented to the Rex Court in 1980. And we also get to meet Mr. Matthew McQueen Saer, the son of Mr. and Mrs. Robert Hayes Saer. And Mr. Saer graduated from the University of Virginia, where he majored in government and Spanish. And also, he is currently working in Washington, D.C. in government relations, lobbying and consulting. And he has quite the lineage.
Many members will see the Saer name more than once tonight, but I always think of Ken Saer, the grandfather, wonderful orthopedist, but a long-time Rex lieutenant, always wearing his gold velvet uniform proudly, and his children and his grandchildren been very active in the organization.
And Dr. Saer was originally the doctor to the New Orleans Saints many years ago.
He was indeed.
And we see Graham back there, yes. And next up is Miss Agnes Robeson Bell, Aggie, and she's the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Michael John Bell. She is a junior at Vanderbilt University, majoring in human and organizational development and French. And she plans to attend graduate school and become a nurse practitioner. And her Duke is Mr. Kenneth Saer III, the brother of the gentleman we just saw. And this is once again the son of Mr. and Mrs. John Kenneth Saer Jr. And he graduated from Dartmouth, where he majored in history.
So another Saer cousin here, another grandson of Ken Saer. Many connections in the court there. Bright young man. And Aggie has a great future in healthcare. She is wonderful with patients and families. Had the pleasure of watching her do that. She's a delight. John Kerner.
Former Rex there himself, and Mr. Mike Rapier, I think.
Mike Rapier, indeed.
Yes.
Yep.
And next we greet Miss Bryn Ellen McFadden, the daughter of Dr. and Mrs. Paul Michael McFadden. She is a junior at the University of Southern California, majoring in communications. And after graduation, she will also have a very busy time. And she is following with her Duke, Mr. William Brennan Davis, Bryn, the son of Dr. and Mrs. William Edward Davis III. He graduated from Vanderbilt University and majoring in medicine, health, and society, and will attend LSU Medical School in the fall of 2016, so he's there right now.
Several Brennan cousins have been in the Rex court. Bryn McFadden's father, a thoracic surgeon who did most of his training here and is in California now, but I hope someday we get him back.
And we see in the background some of John Laborde, Jack, also known as Jack Laborde, and Hunter Pearson.
Hunter Pearson, yep.
Next up is Alexandra Bedsole Demis, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. George Bartlett Demis. She is a junior at Louisiana State University, majoring in marketing. And she enjoys tennis and continues to be a favorite there with tennis. And she is accompanied by Mr. Edgar Allen Gordon Wright IV, known as Gordy, the son of Mr. and Mrs. Edgar Allen Gordon Wright III. And he graduated from Wesleyan University, where he majored in economics. And he currently works for the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation in New York City as a financial institution specialist.
And many connections to Rex there. His sister Ella was Queen of Carnival in 2012. I have to say that Zana Demas, if she gets on a tennis court with the King of Carnival, she will win. She's a very solid tennis player.
And we have Mr. Richard Freeman Jr. and Hardy B. Fowler, both former Rexes, who are accompanying them. Mr. Freeman on the left.
Freeman. Hardy Fowler.
Yes. And next we have Sarah Lane Gamble, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Gary Joseph Gamble. And she is a junior at Tulane, majoring in finance. And she is accompanied by Joseph Ryan Acom. Ryan is the son of Mr. and Mrs. William Ryan Acom. He graduated from the University of Mississippi, where he majored in banking and finance, and he's currently employed by Iberia Bank as a management associate.
Sarah Gamble's grandfather, Charlie Gamble, would be so pleased right now. Charlie was the longtime parade chairman for Rex, and for many, many years, if not decades, he was responsible for that parade, and an absolutely beloved and long-serving lieutenant, and we remember him fondly.
Claire Scanlon on the left, and Mr. Louis Frierson on the right.
Yeah. Claire's good.
have Miss Catherine Elise Johnson, known as Katie. She's the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Rolf Christian Johnson. She's a junior at the University of Virginia, majoring in media studies. And she has quite the lineage, which we'll tell you about shortly. And she is accompanied by Mr. William Rushton Foster Duncan, Will, the son of Mr. and Mrs. Richard Foster Duncan. And he graduated from Dartmouth College, where he majored in economics. And he is currently employed by the Audax Corporation in Boston, Massachusetts as a financial analyst.
Katie Johnson's grandmother, Dolly Ann Sushon, had another granddaughter on this throne last year, Lady Langenstein. And when you get Duncans and Saers marrying, you have purple, green, and gold blood.
You certainly do. And her grandmother, Dolly Ann, is very missed, and she's a former queen of Carnival herself. And here we see Mr. Eric Johnson, who is the grandfather of Miss Johnson, and Tommy Westphal.
Tommy Westphal.
And here we have Miss Haley Simmons Becker, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Walter Francis Becker. She is a junior at the University of Texas, majoring in journalism. And accompanying her is Mr. Michael Bright White, the son of Mr. and Mrs. Michael Bright White, Sr. And his mother was the former Virginia White, who was Queen of Mystic this weekend. And Mr. White is a senior at SMU, majoring in markets and culture.
Yep.
And also right, very Rex Layton and his family.
Rex in 1956. I'm struck that these young people have very bright resumes. They're off doing wonderful things. Two perfect examples here.
And we see a former Rex, William F. Grace Jr. in the background on the right. And
Coco
Coco Sloss on the left. And there we have the maids of our court. We'll be greeting our Deb shortly, but first a special presentation. Anthem of Carnival, If Ever I Cease to Love.
Goes back to the first parade in 1872 when the royal proclamations were issued in the newspaper saying that the Rex of that year, Louis Solomon, being a single man, is sowing wild oats. Therefore, the song should be If Ever I Cease to Love, which was already known in New Orleans as part of a burlesque show done by Lydia Thompson. It had been here actually before she came, and
His
that
Majesty
song
Rex
stuck.
sends greetings to Major General Glenn H. Curtis, Adjutant General, Louisiana National Guard. The Rex organization asks that General Curtis please receive its royal decoration.
Major General Curtis is responsible for the deployment and coordination of programs, policies, and plans affecting the more than 11,500 members of the Louisiana Army and Air National Guard.
He's accompanied by Dennis MacDonald and General David Mize.
In his long career, he was mobilized in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom in December 2004 and served as the Chief of Staff Purchasing and Contracting Officer in Baghdad. In November 2005, following Hurricanes Katrina and Rita, he was assigned as the Chief of Joint Staff, Joint Force Headquarters in Louisiana, and served as the Director of the Joint Staff from April 1st, 2007 until November 2011, when he was appointed as the Adjutant General. He's received many awards, including from Rex tonight, but he also has received the Legion of Merit, the Bronze Star, the Meritorious Service Medal with 2 oak leaf clusters, and the Combat Action Badge, just to name a few.
And David Mize has really been active in
General Mize, yeah.
in military affairs in New Orleans beyond the call of his official responsibilities. He's just been a real community activist.
And our National Guard is not a stay-at-home National Guard. We, our Guard has been deployed as much or more as almost any other in the country.
Rex wishes to royally welcome a select group of debutantes who will now be presented to their majesties. Miss Madeline Mary Carville, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Chester James Carville.
Miss Carville is currently a junior at Hobart and William Smith's colleges. She is studying English and Women's Studies, and she attended the Academy of the Sacred Heart and was a peer mentor. And her hobby, amazingly, quite a coincidence, includes creative writing. And of course, she comes from a very talented family, and she's accompanied by her dad.
Yes, it is that James Carville.
That James Carville.
James Carville and Mary Madeline. Maddie is an extremely accomplished writer. She has won contests and been recognized for her writing at a level that is unusual for her age. I have to say also that James and Mary could be living in many places. They chose to live here, and they've become a wonderful part of our city, opened their homes many times, very engaged in our civic affairs.
Ellinghausen, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Edwin A. Ellinghausen III.
And Miss Ellinghausen is currently attending LSU and hopes to use her major in psychology and her music minor to work with people with autism. Her interests include history, ancestry, and music.
Yes, she has had cousins who were maids in Rex. She hopes to go on and work with children with autism.
Mr. and Mrs. Curtis Perrin Rome III.
And Mary's nickname is Callie. She is currently a junior at Rollins College, majoring in marine biology. And she hopes to work after she graduates in the nonprofit sector in assisting with the recovery of marine life after natural and man-made disasters. And she likes to volunteer at the Audubon Aquarium.
And her Auntie Vet, Marie Room-Stoos, was a Rex debutante in 1990. A triathlete. That's probably helped her get through a very busy debutante season.
That's true. Got the energy.
Miss Catherine Woodworth Slatten, daughter of Mr. Scott Slatten and Ms. Michelle Browder Slatten.
And Miss Slatten is a junior at Rhodes College in Tennessee, where she's majoring in psychology, and she's on the dean's list. She enjoys singing, volunteering, and traveling.
Her sister and aunt were Rex debutantes in past court. Her cousin Isabella is in the court tonight.
Given a very special gift, aren't they?
Yes, this is the piece, the lovely piece that's placed around the neck on a beautiful ribbon. A partnership of Adler's and Suzanne Perron helps with the ribbon. Nice to have a close-up view of that. We've watched that put around the necks of debutantes in many balls. It's a lovely pendant. Christy Brown is helping King Milling behind the page.
For 2016 from the crew of Rex.
There we are.
It is the pleasure of the Rex organization to present to this year's King and Queen, the Queen of the Carnival of 1966, Christine Phillips Westfeld.
And of course, the Westfeld name has long been a part of the Rex legacy and history.
Indeed.
And the sister of Tommy Westfeld, a former Rex himself.
And the aunt of Shelby Westfeld, who reigned as Queen of Carnival. Shelby now has responsibility for helping train our pages, so there's just a nice continuity. Christine's a lovely woman. She is a licensed counselor. She lives most of the time in Asheville, North Carolina, and her passion now is storytelling. She has developed an ability and skill there, and it's something she loves to do.
Back in 1966, Carnival that year was considered, up to that point, the most successful ever in terms of attendance. So that might have been a breakthrough year. They had record crowds. Many guests, international guests. Also, First Lady, Lady Bird Johnson was here with one of her daughters.
Might also mention that Christine is the godmother of Niket Kearney. Christine and Susu, lifelong friends.
Who was Queen of Carnival a while back.
Indeed.
Niket. And a reminder, of course, that we're coming to you live from the Sheraton Hotel, and you can stream us on WYES On Demand or watch us right here in Channel 12.
This grand march and the first dance that follows is reserved exclusively for members of the Rex organization.
Well, Stephen, I think this is one of the highlights of the ball because we get to visit with folks. We see them paying homage to the Queen.
Christy Brown with Ann Grace, Bill Grace, Coco and Liz Sloss, Kia Brown.
Ann and King Milling off to the left.
And Susu Kearney. And Elizabeth
to the right.
And Chip Goodyear.
Yes.
The beautiful dress the mother of the Queen of Carnival's wearing tonight.
That's a real Rex hierarchy crowd right there.
sure is.
William Freer is escorting Susu Kearney.
Okay.
Oliver Dellery, Tommy Westfeld, Linda,
And
Williams.
Norris Luco Williams and her husband.
Oh,
Nina
the
Freeman,
Dellery,
Philip Woolham,
We've got
Philip
yeah.
and King and June Logan. Very nice. The parents of last year's Queen of Carnival and the Queen of Carnival last year, Lady
Yes,
Langenstein.
who we'll hear from shortly.
There we are. There's
Susu Kearney off to the left,
Indeed.
of course.
and Niket in the middle. All the Kearney siblings. Isn't that lovely? And their wives. That's lovely. Oh, that's a happy king.
That's a great shot.
A very proud father and grandfather. Malin Sanford.
And we see
The
Katie
Aikens
Crosby.
have a daughter in the court.
Hal and
Crosby, Katie Crosby.
Yeah.
Dottie Charbonnet and John.
And the
Lou and Ruthie Frierson. Ron and Flora French.
And Alan Phillipson. This is Alan Phillipson. Jimmy and Pixie Reese.
They're the Reeses. Elise Geyser and Kevin. Scott and Sarah Louise Ham. Elise helps the organization run. We couldn't do it without her.
Mr. and Mrs. Hardy Fowler.
Hardy Fowler. Well, there's Jack Laborde and Peggy. I think that's Nancy Hales there, too. Hunter
Tony
Pearson.
Fusilier and his wife. And I think Nancy Hales in the middle there. Looking familiar here.
Very good.
Mr. Charlie Teamer.
Indeed. And Andy and Maria Wisdom. Their son is a page tonight.
Maria.
Jeff Parker makes the Royal Limousines run on time. Blair Scanlon, also a very active lieutenant. And their patient wives.
And right behind them, I believe I saw Mr. and Mrs. Walter Becker, whose daughter is in the court tonight. Let's see. Here we are, right in the center, the Beckers.
The Beckers. Mike McFadden, father of one of our maids tonight.
And we see the Kerners.
Our ambassador, the Ensignats. It's usually the bourgeois. Montgomery's have another page. For James Reese is very active with our ball planning.
And off to the right, Llewellyn and Darrell Berger, yes, and Major General Mize in the center there, and Mary Jane Becker off to the left.
Paul Flower.
And we have Paul Flower and his wife. And
well, they're the Fitzpatricks, too. We've, one of our float sergeants has a very active float. Reverend Frampton, St. Charles Presbyterian. Eric Johnson on the far side.
Andy Rinker.
With Amelie Brown, I believe.
Oh, yes.
The now happily married Amelie.
Oh, that's great.
The Gambles,
yes.
There we are. Hansels.
And Dana Hansel.
Rush O'Keefe on the left is one of the Memphis members of our organization. A strong connection forged by Mike Kearney, really.
Sheraton Hotel Nolan, Robert Young, our society columnist, and the Duncans.
Of all people, Nell Nolan does it with such style. She was
The Demases, Rain Bedsole, and George Demas. And the Maid in the Court. Here we are. One of the Beer Daughters.
See Mr. J. Bat.
Yeah,
off
there
to
we
the
have.
left. J. Bat.
J. Bat. Andre Bat is scolding him. I don't know. John Casbon, so active with our public safety. Michael White
And his
daughters
wife, Virginia, who was Queen of Mystic Saturday night.
Brennan's. There are Stephen Sherrill and Kitty. And the Nolan Wheatleys, active participants in our carnival.
I see Tom Whittinger in the crowd there.
Chip Goodyear in the middle, moving by next to Stephen Sherrill.
Mr. Mike Rapier. Mike Rapier.
I think Rex is enjoying being Rex.
Young Gordon Cobb has become an active lieutenant. Will Hales and Catherine Hales. There we are. There are lots of Hales sons. They're everywhere. The Akins on the far side. Meckstroth, Conrad Appel, one of our legislators, his wife.
Okay.
Very good.
And in just a few minutes, we'll be able to talk to the King of Carnival from last
Brown,
year.
one of our-
Brent Wood, King of Carnival from last year, Mr. Christy Graham, will be having as a guest.
The Howards. Oliver Sartor and Sissy on the close side there. Neil
Okay,
Coy.
Brian.
Greg O'Brien.
Yeah.
Still comes back and part of the carnival.
Once again, Mr. Walter Becker there.
Beckers.
We're going to switch these. Okay. Thank you. A reminder that we're streaming on YouTube at WYES On Demand. Thank you. Okay. Hi, how are you? Love that whistle, sir.
I might just stuff that.
And as we're enjoying a bit of the Grand March, we wanted to reminisce with our King of Carnival from last year. Is it a little bit easier this year? Just a little?
I am totally missing it. I
You
had
are?
so much fun last year, and so it is a bit easier. But it's fun, but not quite as much fun as I had last year.
Did you have any advice for the King of Carnival this year?
To enjoy the whole process, because literally you do get a lifetime of memories in one day, but that day is so fleeting. It goes so quickly that you really have to enjoy the whole process leading up to it.
And of course, to see your daughter, who was a former Queen of Carnival, out here too.
I think I saw her participating in the Grand March, and she has fond memories of that day as I do of mine.
Now, I understand you ride a horse on a regular basis during certain carnival parades. Is it hard to ride that horse?
No, I love this horse. I ride a horse called Mystic, and Mystic is a young gelding, a lot of spirit in him, so he always keeps me on my toes.
I've always heard that those who ride the horse and say what they like is they can interact with the crowd better.
It is a very close and personal experience, but you know, one thing I found interesting when I rode on the King's Float last year is that's even more personal. People really do want to talk to you. You're not behind a curtain mask. You're actually, you know, made up with a beard and everything, and the reaction is much more personal.
And of course, some memories, reliving some memories from last year.
That was one of the most exciting moments, was coming out of the train and greeting the people. The atmosphere was absolutely electric. I'm sure Errol will remember well.
And you were a redhead for Lundi Gras.
Yes.
And being on.
And there's my beautiful queen, Laney Langenstein. I tell you, I had more fun with her. She is an incredibly accomplished young lady, and I look forward to watching her go far in life.
Well, Christy, it's so nice to have you with us.
Well, thank you,
for
Peggy.
making so much happen in our community, and of course for the ball.
Well, thank you for having me. It's good seeing you, Errol. Great seeing you. Happy Mardi Gras.
Okay,
to
happy
you.
Mardi Gras to you. And back to the dance floor. But first, we want to take a moment to thank those who have made tonight's broadcast possible.
For the 2016 Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is made possible through generous community support. Longer than streetcars have been rolling down the tracks, Iberia Bank has been part of the New Orleans landscape. We believe in making our community better by giving back through charitable, educational, and cultural efforts that enhance our city, such as this broadcast on WYES. Fidelity Bank, as New Orleans as king cake, parades, beads, doubloons, and the families that get together to celebrate them all. Serving this community since 1908. Hail Rex, hail Comus, happy Mardi Gras. Support is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of legal services to a wide range of local, regional, national, and international client base. Online at joneswalker.com. The Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is also brought to you by Riley Foods and French Market Coffee. For the past 125 years, French Market Coffee has brought you all the flavor of New Orleans in a cup. Christwood, a retirement destination located in St. Tammany Parish, features cottages and apartment homes along with the assurance of quality health care. Personal tours are available. The New Orleans Tourism Marketing Corporation wishes visitors and citizens a happy Mardi Gras and a great year ahead. New Orleans visitor information available at followyournola.com. Additional funding is provided by the law firm of Adams & Reese, Mr. and Mrs. Jonathan McCall, Mignon Faget, Galatoire's Restaurant.
And we're back on the dance floor. General dancing is about to begin. We've got a lot of special guests that we'll be hearing from tonight. But first, we want you to meet the pages of Rex. Here we go. And here we have Rex's page, Thomas Andrew Wisdom. And Thomas Andrew Wisdom is the son of Mr. and Mrs. Andy Wisdom, and he is a student at Medley Park Country Day School. His school activities include swimming and soccer, and he is certainly in his family very Rex-related and with quite a few monarchs in his family over the years. And he found out on Christmas morning, too, he thought he was being brought up to his parents' room. He thought he was in trouble, and instead he was told that he would be a page. And he was an Atlanteans page 2 years ago. Mr. Walker McCall Montgomery, the son of Mr. and Mrs. Richard Bullard Montgomery, and he is a student at Isadora Newman School. His school activities include football and tennis, and he found out, actually on Christmas morning, there was a box, an envelope that was included, and he read it, and he thought that was very, very cool. And he is the Queen's page. Now, though, we have a very special guest, the Mayor of New Orleans, Mitch Landrieu. How are you?
I'm great.
How was your
day?
Spectacular.
Great day.
You know, it's got to be so exciting, especially for this year's Rex. The whole idea of community involvement for many Rex members. I think our king today really epitomizes that, don't you?
He talked it. Look, Mike Kearney and his entire family in Susu have been great civic and community leaders their entire life, and they are well loved. And this king has really been an unbelievable member of our community and a very, very dear friend. So it was a very special moment for me to be able to toast him at Gallia Hall on behalf of the people of the city.
I just think it's so wonderful that this group, and others, but this group in particular, that sole sense of pro bono publico is important to the city.
There's no question about it. I know Dr. Hales was on a bit earlier. Rex really, for a long time, but especially in the last couple of years, post-Katrina, has really done an unbelievable job of giving back to the community in education, healthcare. And this crew and its members and the entire extended family have been a really very important part of our recovery.
How was your day?
I had a spectacular day. I really did. I really get to have the most fun because, as you know, I lead off Mardi Gras with the police chief and the horses in front of Zulu. I thought Zulu was spectacular today. It's a great parade. Their costumes were exquisite. And then, of course, Rex followed. And I was able to greet both of the kings and the royalty, and then the host. We had international visitors with us. And then the ball tonight, and then I'll leave here, and we'll actually go, walk through the French Quarter and end it at,
Wow.
at 12 o'clock. I'll go get out of this and get back on the horse with all of the police officers, and then thank all of our law enforcement, our firefighters, our police, our state troopers, our FBI, our DEA. They really worked very hard to keep everybody safe and secure, and they did a great job.
Yes, Nancy, I know there was an increased emphasis on public safety this year, more than I've ever heard before. And looking back, I mean, do you think it all functioned well?
Well, first of all, every year, obviously, public safety is our number one priority, and people don't know this, but the back of the house side of putting on this event for Mardi Gras, we have thousands of people that help us actually secure the city. And we also do a lot of tabletop exercises before, because in the current environment that we're in, when you see things that happen in San Bernardino or in Boston, you really have to work hard. And so this year, we had an unprecedented amount of cooperation from our federal officials. So we had FBI, ATF, we had the Joint Terrorism Task Force helping us, of course, state police, and the primary agency was NOPD. And in partnership with the Sheriff's Office and the firefighters, Homeland Security, you could tell there was a huge presence. It's a very safe Mardi Gras, but at the end of the day, Errol, it really relies on the individuals and the people in the community who really help. And I think just common respect for each other and being nice and being thoughtful really helps out a lot.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Happy Mardi Gras.
It's great to see you. Happy Mardi Gras.
Thank you. And we're going to go back to the dance floor. You're hearing the Jimmy Maxwell Orchestra under the conducting of Mr. Mark Monaster, and Mr. Maxwell himself is there. And on the Comus side, which we'll enjoy a little later, Robert Maxwell is going to be conducting. And Jimmy Maxwell's dad was actually a drummer in the original Rene Luop Orchestra, which played for Rex for many years. Maxwell has been playing for Rex and Comus since the late 1980s. Here we go. And there's Jimmy Maxwell himself. He's conducting right now too. JMO, Jimmy Maxwell Orchestra.
Actually, he's backing up. Even though it's his orchestra, he's playing the piano, and he has a stand-in that's leading, and then his son is leading on the Comus side.
Yes. And we see Mark Romick back there too, who's doing a great job as the announcer for the Rex Ball. Trying to see if there are any particular colors in the themes of gowns tonight, but it looks like it's still quite a mix. Maybe a little bit of teal.
I love the camera shots during the patriotic songs, like when the women are clapping with the long gloves all in unison. It's just a great shot. It's a mesmerizing shot.
Actually, while some people do dance, there's a lot of just visiting that goes along too, to the mellow music.
Yeah, it's more of a mixing event than a dancing event. That's okay.
Yeah, that all works fine. I see. So I just saw Mr. Chris Johnson, who's up there when his daughter was in the Rex Court tonight. And we are so thrilled because we have It's hard to believe, 50-year queen here, Miss Christine Phillips Westphal. Welcome, welcome. And you look beautiful in your red dress. Wow. Now tell us about we actually have some footage of the parade and the ball in 1966. Tell us about that day for you.
Gee, Peggy, it was a wonderland. You know, Alice in Wonderland was a theme.
Yes, yes.
And it was indeed a wonderland. I didn't realize until very recently what an honor it was for my parents and grandparents and my brother, to be blessed. Literally, it's a blessing to be queen of this mythic city of New Orleans, even for a day.
And here you are, there you are, 50 years ago.
Oh my Lord.
How did they tell you would be queen? Was it any?
They told me the June of the year before. And they said, and I didn't really understand what it meant because I'm not impressed with myself. So I thought, well, this is lovely, but what does it mean? And then I had scepter lessons, and I had, so it was.
And tell us about your king. Any recollections of Mr. Janke?
Well, King for Herbert Janke. No, only that he was by me the whole time. I was having so much fun. I think that I probably disregarded him, and much to his chagrin.
Well, those etiquette lessons, I bet that was great fun.
Etiquette
learning
was
how to
fun,
scepter.
and learning how to scepter, and learning how to bow, not curtsy. It was just it was an extraordinary day, and I want to thank really all the city. I want to thank the people of the city, because Rex is bono publico. I want to thank really the energy and the excitement of the people in the streets, as well as my ancestors, and they are my ancestors now.
And of course, your brother Tommy was
King
of Carnival a few years back, and many other.
And Shelby, my niece, was queen, and then Mary Scott was queen of Comus. So
quite the lineage.
Quite the lineage,
well,
but only for a day.
Yes, but thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
We're so happy to meet you.
Thank you.
And now, for such an historic event, it's only fitting that we include a few historical questions to test your knowledge of Carnival history. We have 3 questions tonight, and during tonight's broadcast, we'll show you some wonderful prizes too for viewers who submit all 3 correct answers. Let's watch. Our Carnival prizes include a one-night stay for 2 at the Inn at Homus House, which includes a guided tour of the mansion and a plantation breakfast for 2, a $350 value, along with $200 towards dinner at Latille's Landing Restaurant. Both the inn and restaurant are located on the grounds of Homus House Plantation and Gardens in Burnside, Louisiana, along the River Road. A fleur-de-lis intaglio heart pendant from New Orleans jewelry designer Millon Faget. The pendant is engraved on the back with "If Ever I Cease to Love," the most enduring anthem of Mardi Gras. A 2016 Rex Proclamation. This year's artist is Tucker Fitzhugh, courtesy of the School of Design. A 2016 Rex Parade Bulletin, depicting this year's Rex Parade with its theme, Royal Gardens. Float sketches by Manuel Ponce, and bulletin art design by Matthew Hales. A copy of the books Mardi Gras, Chronicles of the New Orleans Carnival by Errol Laborde, and New Orleans Mardi Gras Moments by Judy Bottoni and me, Peggy Scott Laborde, courtesy of Pelican Publishing, and a DVD of tonight's program. And now, our first Carnival quiz question. On Rex's Boeuf Gras float, how are the maskers traditionally costumed? We'll tell you where to send your answers later in our broadcast. And here we are on the dance floor. As we said, we're listening to the Jimmy Maxwell Orchestra. Looking back a century ago and even half a century ago gives us a glimpse into Carnival's rich past, as Diane Mack reminds us.
Carnival 100 years ago was a joyous affair, although a shadow was cast on the festivities as news of the war being waged in Europe shared print space with accounts of the Rex Parade and Ball. Little is known about the 1916 King of Carnival, John J. Mapp, described then as a member of the Old Guard. Wayne Phillips, curator of Carnival collections at the Louisiana State Museum, has discovered only a few details about the 1916 king.
We do know that he had a great deal of success in the hardware industry, and there are a number of very humorous quotes that are attributed to him through the addresses that he gave to hardware conventions here in the city. But the name is not a name that has continued down in common usage today in New Orleans. So we're still trying to find out a little bit more about Mr. Mapp.
In 2006, Carnival historian and publisher of the Mardi Gras Guide, Arthur Hardy, was contacted by the granddaughter of John Mapp with an offer to sell him the 1916 Rex costume ensemble.
I received a call from a woman in Maryland who said she had some really hot memorabilia that I just had to see. It was maybe 6 weeks later, my wife and I drove up to Maryland. She had it all. Many of the pieces that he wore had a lot of ducal badges and other things. Getting it back home was quite a task. It was strange carrying something that valuable back to New Orleans, about a 3-day drive, but I was so glad to acquire it.
Hardy found a permanent home for the royal costume and jewels with Kevin Kelly, owner of Comus House. Some of the items are on display in the plantation's carriage house, and others are being restored.
I'd love to go back in time and be there that day and see him. Must have been quite a guy. You don't get to be Rex if you aren't important.
The Queen of Carnival in 1916 was Inez Ellis, daughter of Crawford Ellis, who reigned as Rex in 1914.
Crawford Ellis had a large place in society and business here in the city. He was one of the youngest men that we know to ever reign as Rex. He was only 40 years old when he was king in 1914.
In 1916, both Rex and Comus selected artistic themes for their parades. Rex chose Visions from the Poets as their theme, and the mystic crew of Comus chose glimpses of the modern world of art.
A young lady named Mildred Post reigned as Queen of Comus and would have come together with both young Miss Ellis and Mr. Mapp when the two courts came together at the end of Mardi Gras on 1916.
50 years later, in 1966, Rex turned to popular literature for the theme for their parade, Alice in Wonderland. Reigning as King of Carnival that year was Herbert Janke, the great-grandson of Fritz Janke, a German immigrant who revolutionized New Orleans' concrete construction in the late 1800s. Fritz's son Ernest Lee Janke served as Rex in 1915, and his granddaughter Cora reigned as Queen of Carnival in 1936.
Herbert Janke's son, Herbert Janke Jr., had his own contribution to Carnival. Janke Jr. Established Royal Artists, which was the company that built the floats for many of the old line crews for many years and continue to do so today.
The Queen of Carnival in 1966, Christine Phillips Westfeldt, also had strong family ties to Carnival.
Miss Westfeldt's family enjoyed many honors in Rex. In fact, both of her grandparents reigned as King and Queen of Carnival in the 1940s. And her brother was King of Carnival in 2009. It's Tommy Westfeldt.
In the culminating moments of Mardi Gras 50 years ago, Rex and his queen closed Carnival with Comus and his consort. Catherine Jane Mansell, and merriment reigned as it had for decades in the glittering meeting of the courts.
Errol, you had a postscript to 1966 before we introduce our special guest. Did you have a postscript to that piece?
Yeah, I want to acknowledge Benjamin Westell of the UNO History Department, and he's been looking up facts for us for 1916. In 1916 was the first year that there was a plan to run a steamship from Illinois down the Mississippi to New Orleans to bring people to the Mardi Gras, but also it was going to be the beginning of service that connect from New Orleans into around the world. And so stop at the Mardi Gras and then go around the world. Probably seemed like a good idea in 1916 before anybody thought about the airplane. You know?
Exactly. Well, it is my great pleasure to introduce to you Miss Susu Kearney, who is the wife of the King of Carnival, but has also been very involved for almost 40 years.
43 years.
Doing the drawings, designing the crew members on their floats. Tell us about, how did you first get involved with that?
there was a designer for the parade, and he got sick. So Leon Irwin, who was involved in the organization years and years ago, who's no longer with us, asked if I could help out. So I helped him out for that particular carnival, and then have had the job ever since.
Well, Susan, how did your husband tell you he would be Rex?
He just was straightforward. He came home, I said, "How was your day?" He said, "It was great, but you won't believe this."
So he was sort of surprised?
Yeah, very.
It's hard to keep a secret, isn't it?
It's very hard, but we were keeping the secret so tightly with the whole family that now when it got time that I could tell it, it was hard for me to tell.
Now there's some extra memories because you also have a daughter who was the Queen of Carnival way back when.
Yep, 2001.
And she's here tonight, which works out perfectly. Tell us about your dress. It's so beautiful.
Suzanne Perron made this. And it's the theme of the parade is the Royal Garden, so I'll have flowers all over my dress, just like His Majesty's Royal Garden.
Oh, well, it's beautiful. Thank you so much for being with us, and congratulations.
Thank you so much,
Thank you. It's so great to see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now let's take a moment to thank those who made tonight's broadcast possible.
Funding for the 2016 Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is made possible through generous community support. Longer than streetcars have been rolling down the tracks, Iberia Bank has been part of the New Orleans landscape. We believe in making our community better by giving back through charitable, educational, and cultural efforts that enhance our city, such as this broadcast on WYES. The Gustav Westphal McElhenney Family Foundation supports the renewal of New Orleans and the ongoing process of transforming our city's schools. Rex organization volunteers and the Pro Bono Publico Foundation are helping assure that every child in New Orleans can attend an excellent school. Terry White and Ralph Brennan celebrate Brennan's restaurant's 70th year with Chef Slade Rushing's modern interpretations of classic Creole cuisine, served in Brennan's elegant dining rooms, roost bar, and courtyard. Brennan's, 417 Royal Street in the French Quarter. Fidelity Bank, as New Orleans as king cake, parades, beads, doubloons, and the families that get together to celebrate them all. Serving this community since 1908. Hail Rex, hail Comus, happy Mardi Gras. The Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is also brought to you by Riley Foods and French Market Coffee. For the past 125 years, French Market Coffee has brought you all the flavor of New Orleans in a cup. Christwood, a retirement destination located in St. Tammany Parish, features cottages and apartment homes along with the assurance of quality health care. Personal tours are available. The New Orleans Tourism Marketing Corporation wishes visitors and citizens a happy Mardi Gras and a great year ahead. New Orleans visitor information available at followyournola.com.
New Orleans wouldn't be New Orleans without wrought iron, or the cathedral, or its ancient live oaks. And New Orleans wouldn't be New Orleans without Whitney Bank. Whitney Bank, a part of the fabric of New Orleans.
Adler's, honored to be part of New Orleans traditions since 1898.
And by Robert Fresh Market. Do you speak fresh? And Lakeview Grocery on Harrison Avenue. Abita Beer, craft brewed for the way Louisiana loves to live. Support comes from Baker Donaldson, lawyers and advisors proud to serve the business community and support local programming. Additional support by Bellwether Technology.
And I am thrilled to have another very special guest, the 2015 Queen of Carnival, Charlotte Laney Langenstein. It's a much easier evening tonight for you, isn't it?
It is. It's been delightful watching everyone and seeing from the seats out here.
What are some of your memories of last year's reign?
Last year, well, I actually was fortunate enough that in the court was a lot of my dearest friends from growing up. A lot of them I've been with since I was about 2 years old. So it was great to get to share the night with them.
And to be able to tell them. Go ahead.
How late did your night go? I'm always curious about where queens wind up after.
I think I got home about 6 a.m. It was about a 25-hour day for me.
Did you give any advice to this year's queen?
You know, it's all so secretive that
that's true.
Don't have a hand in it, but she did an amazing job. I was taking lessons from her.
Did your mom give you any advice? Because, of course, your grandmother had served as queen. Huh?
Well, my grandmother actually taught a lot of the lessons, and even as a child, I got to watch that a bit, and my mom has definitely incorporated it. She gave me a lot of lessons about just being calm and relaxed and enjoying the ride.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Happy Mardi Gras.
Happy
Appreciate
Mardi Gras
you.
to you.
And now let's go to the dance floor and see what's happening, even though we say a lot of people are usually visiting more than dancing. But
So what's going on now is we're having the dancing, which is going to lead off up in a few minutes to the actual closing of this Rex ball. And you'll see the Rex and his queen leave and then cross the road.
In just a little while.
To the Comus ball.
And you know, now though, it is time to go to our second question of 3 questions for our Carnival quiz. Let's take a look. What is the name of the house orchestra for the Rex and Comus balls? We'll have the third and final question a little later in our program. Our Carnival prizes include a one-night stay for 2 at the Inn at Homus House, which includes a guided tour of the mansion, and a plantation breakfast for 2, a $350 value, along with $200 towards dinner at Latille's Landing Restaurant. Both the inn and restaurant are located on the grounds of Homus House Plantation and Gardens in Burnside, Louisiana, along the River Road. A fleur-de-lis intaglio heart pendant from New Orleans jewelry designer Millon Faget. The pendant is engraved on the back with "If Ever I Cease to Love," the most enduring anthem of Mardi Gras. A 2016 Rex Proclamation. This year's artist is Tucker Fitzhugh, courtesy of the School of Design. A 2016 Rex Parade Bulletin, depicting this year's Rex Parade with its theme Royal Gardens. Float sketches by Manuel Ponce, and bulletin art design by Matthew Hales. A copy of the books Mardi Gras, Chronicles of the New Orleans Carnival by Errol Laborde, and New Orleans Mardi Gras Moments by Judy Bottoni and me, Peggy Scott Laborde, courtesy of Pelican Publishing, and a DVD of tonight's program. And the orchestra has taken just a momentary pause here. And as we said, though, Errol, there's a lot more visiting than dancing, huh?
And the ultimate visitor is going to come in a few minutes, and that will be the delegation from Comus, and they will have a proclamation in which they will invite Rex and his queen to attend their ball. And that's really sort of like the pivotal moment of this event, because Rex, once he accepts, and he always does, that they'll have their procession. And then they'll have the famous crossing of the street, where there'll be a red carpet on Canal Street, and go across to the Marriott Hotel. And then at that point, you'll see the meeting of the courts between Comus and his queen and Rex and his queen. The Comus ball is going on right now, and they're doing sort of the same thing that's going on right now. And so it's all time that they'll jive together.
You know, Errol, one of the ways that the Rex organization values its history is by having a very special room that pays tribute to its past monarchs. Dr. Stephen Hales gives us a tour of Rex's very own King's Room. The King of Carnival has a regal new space at the Rex Den.
This is the King's Room. This is the room where on Mardi Gras Day, the King of Carnival and the captain of the Rex organization dress, prepare to go out on the parade route. What we have are on the walls of the King's Room are all of the past Kings of Carnival, starting up in one corner with Louis Solomon in 1872. And as I look at those portraits, that's a history of this city. It's a history of those who've cared about New Orleans, those who've led New Orleans, those who've been committed supporters of this city, and these portraits help tell that story. One of our most beautiful displays here are the court jewelry worn by Dorothy Wilmot, who was Queen of Carnival in 1913. After her reign, she moved to New York and later to Cleveland. She took with her her court jewelry. The theme in 1913 was enchantments and transformations, and butterflies are one of the most beautiful examples and symbols of a transformation. So all through Dorothy Wilmot's crown and scepter and the necklace and the other elements of her jewelry, you'll see beautiful representations of butterflies. Her granddaughters used to play with these jewels in her attic, but never quite knew the connection to New Orleans. They reached out to us actually through the Rex website. Also in that cabinet, you'll see the crown and scepter that were used by Gustav Baldwin, who was King of Carnival in 1924.
The 2013 Queen of Carnival's couture gown was handmade by the royal dressmaker Suzanne Perron.
Rex is very specific about the color. They want not only gold, but the right shade of gold. And I achieve that from specifically dyeing the fabric and layering until I get the exact color that they would like, and it is always approved by the Rex organization before I go forward.
At the Rex Ball, when all the lights are on it, it is just a glittering, beautiful, slightly gold, just a feast for the eyes. And Nina's family has allowed us to put it on display here, and it certainly is a centerpiece of our displays.
In the same cabinet are the captain's parade and ball costumes, along with the lieutenant's costume salvaged from Katrina. Also showcased here are the ducal medallions issued to members of the Rex organization. The modern versions are in contrast with the earlier designs.
Prior to World War I, the ducal medallions came from Paris, and they are very ornate. Lots of gold, lots of crystal, lots of jewels. When people look at the beautiful ducal medallions, they'll see that the ribbons are very faded and tattered, and that the metal and the jewels don't gleam quite as bright. Those all were immersed in the floodwaters of Katrina and had to be painstakingly restored. After Katrina, one of our members donated 3 beautiful medallions that had never been underwater, and we've been able to put those on display. The colors of Carnival, and this goes back to 1872, the very first year. The King of Carnival, the first King of Carnival, dictated they would be purple, green, and gold. So those colors are reflected here. The walls are painted a beautiful green. The gold is not gold paint, but gold leaf on the trim. The carpet was imported purple, green, and gold with the Rex symbol in the middle, 1872, the year of Rex's founding. This room really reflects that old tradition, but in a very beautiful way.
In just a few moments, we get to visit with the parents of the Queen, but we're on the dance floor, and you've just heard the Jimmy Maxwell Orchestra. It was so much fun to hear last year's Queen of Carnival, Charlotte, talk about her memories. But we're making some new memories because tonight we have Mr. and Mrs. Charles Goodyear IV, and also known as Elizabeth here. Hello, welcome. How are you, sir?
Very good.
To see you.
Great to be here.
How did you tell your daughter she would be queen?
Well, we took her to dinner at Antoine's, and we had a nice dinner, and then we took a walk around the Rex room, and we came to the Queen's gown, and she looked at that and said, "Oh, that's very nice. I'm sure you're glad you don't have to buy me one of those." And then we took her to the mystery room, and she read a poem that the captain had prepared for her.
Wonderful.
And it announced she was going to be the Queen of Carnival.
Well, of course, the Queen of Carnival looks gorgeous, but so do you. Tell us about your dress.
My dress is a big backstory. I actually had a dress made in China, in Shanghai.
Having spent many years in China
over there,
and Australia, yes.
And I was planning to wear it to 12th Night Ball. And then I couldn't figure out what I wanted to wear this evening. And so a woman who used to work with Chip, who's a chief economist for a major mining company, went and matched the fabric and matched the handmade embroidery, and Suzanne St. Paul put it all together.
It's wonderful. Now, how were you all told that she would be queen?
We had dinner with the captain and his wife, and we sat down, and he gave us a poem, and the poem he had prepared, and it was a very nice poem, talked about her background, and the last 2 lines, and said, we would like Adelaide to be the Carnival Queen.
Poetry is key. Now, you all have traveled. I love that photo that we saw earlier of you in Australia on the diving board throwing beads. So apparently you've kept the Mardi Gras spirit alive wherever you've been, whether it's Australia or China or wherever.
We have. It's been great. It's a fantastic festival, but it's a fantastic city. New Orleans, we love it. We've lived here a long time. Elizabeth has lived here her whole life. So to carry such a great festival around the world, but also the spirit of New Orleans. So in Australia, it was a party, and in London, we'd get our friends addicted to king cake. So it was really wonderful.
Well, thank you all. Once again, congratulations. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Very honored to be here.
Oh, same here. And we'll toss to the floor here, and note that there is a little bit of dancing going on as well as visiting. We still have plenty more guests that we're looking forward to, and of course, ultimately, the meeting of the courts of Rex and the Mystic Crew of Comus. I think we're expecting the Comus captain shortly as well, but so much fun we're having. The pomp and circumstance, but a lot of fun too.
Yeah, pretty soon they'll clear the floor. When they clear the floor, they'll announce the arrival of the Comus captain and lieutenants. That's a big moment. You know, for years, this event was held at the Municipal Auditorium, and at that it was Rex and Comus were in the same building, and so the Comus delegation pretty much had to walk down the hall to issue their invitation, and the Rex delegation walked down the hall to go to the ball. When this first started in the 1800s, they were in two different buildings, and they had to travel around. But now this is pretty convenient. It's two different buildings, but across from each other, Canal Street.
Once again, our Queen of Carnival, Adelaide Goodyear, and our King, Michael Kearney, who's been involved with Rex for many, many years as well. And you can see our court. And the pages, our dear pages, have a long night, but they're up for it. And in many instances, the pages have been pages in previous organizations as well. Later on tonight, we're going to be hearing from our Chief of Police, Michael Harrison.
Please begin taking your seats. The captain of the Mystic Crew of Comus and his aides are about to arrive.
As Mark Romick just said, we're awaiting the arrival of the captain of Comus. Yes, while we're waiting for the captain, we wanted to chat with a very special guest, Mr. Story Charbonnet, who is the chairman of the Pro Bono Publico Foundation, and of course Stephen Hales, a founding member. But let's talk about some of the great news and all the effort of that foundation, of course, from Rex. Story, welcome.
Good evening.
So tell us about all of the magnificent things that you've done lately with the Pro Bono Publico
just
Foundation.
Recently, Stephen and myself and other members of the Pro Bono Foundation board were fortunate enough to donate $1 million to 60 charter schools.
This year alone?
This year.
Wow.
And approximately 30 supporting organizations.
And of course, there's a kids project that's been dear to your heart, Stephen.
Indeed. This is to watch what's happening in the city with our Teach for America core members and alums. This city is full of bright young educators who will absolutely not accept anything but success for our children. And the Pro Bono Publico Foundation has become one of the key local funders, and really those commitments have helped multiply national engagement. So Story and the other members of the board have really been very careful about keeping that giving focused on these schools. KidSmart, one of those supporting organizations bringing art into the classrooms. We've opened the Rex Den to allow them to help teachers develop lesson plans that can make Carnival more of a part of a curriculum for New Orleans.
Story, it's got to be so gratifying to hand somebody a check.
Well, I mean it is, and I think if you understand the history of the foundation, which started back in 2007, we were originally focused on the sort of three important components of a successful city. We were focused on a safe, clean, educated city, and we very quickly morphed into a focus on primarily education, giving all of our children in the city, especially the inner city children, an opportunity to get a good education.
What's the total so far in terms of money, approximately?
With this year's $1 million, we're about $4.5 million in the last 7 years.
Congratulations. And I know, Stephen, you also are very proud of the den tours in addition to the funding.
We've opened the den to our school children on a limited scale for many years, but over the last few years that's really multiplied. So many of these charter schools will come back to the den and be able to see floats and history put together. It's a wondrous place for a child to visit and see. So Rex's commitment to the city, Pro Bono Publico, has been there from the beginning. The foundation's part of that, opening our den to school children, part of that. And I think we're all watching Carnival become something more than just a parade or just a ball. It really is a year-round opportunity to make the city better.
You know what's commendable about this is just the Rex organization itself. The parade is a gift to the city in that it's a non-commercial endeavor that the members raise money for and pay for it themselves. There's no underwriting for, no sponsors, no commercials. And then you all take an extra step and say, we're going to raise $1 million to give to the community. That's something you don't see in many communities at all.
Thank you so much, Story.
Thank you
did you want to add one more thing? Or?
No, I just was going to say that it's also a tremendous opportunity through our relationship with Teach for America to bring all of these young children that are coming to our city for 2-year stints to teach, in order to incorporate them into our community and hopefully, if we're fortunate, keep them in the city.
Yes, let's hope for that. Well, thank you kindly. Appreciate you being with us. Thank you. And just a reminder that our coverage of the Rex Ball and the meeting of courts of Rex and Comus will repeat in its entirety immediately following this broadcast. And right now we are awaiting the arrival of the captain of the Mystic Crew of Comus, dating back to 1857, the first Comus Ball, and in 1882 was actually the first meeting of the courts of Rex and the Mystic Crew of Comus. So they've cleared the dance floor in preparation for this.
All of the style of Carnival dates back to Comus. Comus really started it all in 1857 with his parade with floats. It created a lot of the majesty of Mardi Gras. It created the term crew. That was a Comus invention. It just kind of created the entire style.
Absolutely. And here we go. We've got some former, of course, royalty here, former Rexes.
King Milling and Bill Grace.
And I know that you're very fond of the fact that the Queens are also paid homage to.
Indeed.
Earlier we showed the feature on the King Throne and how beautiful
the
that's
captain of the
done.
Mystic Crew of Comus has arrived to present an invitation to His Majesty Rex to visit the Comus Ball.
Here's the captain of the Mystic Crew of Comus, bringing a royal missive and invitation to join Comus and his queen at their ball.
First, he needs to hand it off to a page, and the page will bring it to Rex and his queen.
Tommy Wisdom.
Mr.
Montgomery.
And you're listening to the tune of The Dancing Butterfly. And through the magic of Carnival, I can share with you what our Rex is reading. High atop your royal throne, I tried to get you on your phone, so I send my captain in mask and plumes to ask if you will come visit soon. We know the hour is late for you, being an older king with much to do. For a stud who plays tennis 6 times a week, you must just be reaching your peak. As a man who runs many organizations, let's bring together our sovereign nations to accept our royal invitation. Just nod your consent to our delegation. Please gather your lovely queen and court and bring your captain and other escorts. With all your knowledge of rivers and boats, think of Canal as just a small moat, referring to Canal Street crossing Canal to the Marriott Hotel. Awaiting you are Comus and his lovely Lily. Join us on the throne. It will surely be thrilling. We promise to keep you only 30 ticks of the clock, then adjourn for breakfast and back to wedlock. Comus, signed Comus.
Very nice, and I think that reference to Lily is the first mention we've had of the Queen of Comus, Lily Saer.
Whose
and we'll
brothers
be seeing
were,
her soon.
yes, and her brothers were dukes in the Rex Court, so they'll be going over to the other side. And we are, of course, headquartered here at the Sheraton, which is the site of the Rex Ball, but they will be moving over to the Marriott across the street on historic Canal Street in New Orleans.
When these balls moved
I think he said yes.
there to the Sheraton and the Marriott, that was the question. How would the courts meet? And the red carpet across the canal has become a new tradition.
And hopefully we'll get a glimpse of that too a little later.
The colors of Comus, of course, silver and white. The colors of Rex, very gold.
Very sparkly, very sparkly.
Just a stunning dress that Queen Adelaide is wearing, and such a nice story with the inclusion of flowers and all. Very beautiful.
Yes, indeed. So the court will be departing, but that doesn't mean the ball is over. There'll be some dancing for a little while.
But we'll see one final procession of the King of Carnival, the Queen of Carnival, and their pages, the maids and dukes in the court.
Adelaide Goodyear, Queen of Carnival, 2016.
Okay, just give me some cues there. Thank you.
Final centering and the next ball. Dress is so splendid. Wow.
I think the work that Suzanne Caron's doing is just absolutely magnificent. I don't think anything has excelled that in the history of making Queen's dresses. Just very, very beautiful.
Stephen, the jewelry itself, though, that belongs to the Rex organization, the crown and the scepter.
That has changed at different times. Some of those we have in our collections from past years, but and the crowns and scepters now don't go home with the King and Queen of Carnival. They are used.
We have a king that has such a great smile too. He is clearly enjoying himself.
He's been very happy. It's interesting to watch the practice for the meeting of the courts. These trains have to be managed. I think Mike's time on the tennis court has given him sufficient strength to do this. It's very graceful too. Look.
Stephen, since you played tennis with him, did he ever wink and say, "I've got a secret," or anything like that? Did he ever?
Mike has been on the list of likely kings of Carnival for the last 20 years. So,
so he's always a rumored Rex.
Yeah. When he's asked if this was his year, he said, "Why do you keep beating this dead horse?" So.
10 years ago from Mardi Gras, which was important at Mardi Gras 2006. That was the Mardi Gras after Katrina, the Mardi Gras we needed to have, and Rex was Paul McElhenney. And McElhenney was the ultimate rumored Rex for many, many years. We finally got it.
Vernon Palmer in the background there, one of Mike's regular tennis adversaries. I think Adelaide's background and her education is just so unique. These queens of Carnival of the last 10 to 20 years have been young women with broad interests, broad educations, and a broad experience in the world. I think they take New Orleans to the world and bring the world to New Orleans in a way that is a great benefit to the city.
Mention that the sceptering and the graceful way that our queen moves in the court is enhanced very much by the talent of Helen Butcher, who provides a lot of the etiquette classes and learned from Lynn Watkins, who we so dearly miss, and she in turn have learned from Diane Souchon, Johnson. So it's quite a legacy. And I ran into Miss Butcher yesterday after rehearsal we were talking about, and she was queen of Comus 25 years ago. So she and her sister was queen of Carnival, same year. Is that Mr. Montgomery?
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
They did very well on the parade route today, and they've certainly done well tonight. They have a little more work to do before they're sent home.
Yes.
Gigi Dabazi's the aunt of the Queen of Carnival.
Family members to join for them at the Comus Ball, of course. But there'll still be some general dancing in this area. And once again, I just wanted to remind everybody that joining me this evening are Errol Laborde, editor of New Orleans Magazine and the author of the book Mardi Gras, Chronicles of the New Orleans Carnival, and Dr. Stephen Hales. By day, a noted New Orleans pediatrician, Stephen is a Rex official and archivist for the organization, and he is the author of Rex, An Illustrated History of the School of Design. And we want to thank our friends at Louisiana Public Broadcasting because we are being shown statewide on their LPV2 channel. And we are also streaming our broadcast at WYES On Demand. You can go to our website and check all that out.
Everyone is now welcome to participate in the
Once again, Mark Romig. Before we talk more about Comus, though, I know that you had a bit of a PS on, we aired a feature a little while ago in the King's Room, but you've added some queens. I know this is your baby, and you've added some special touches.
I don't think it does to ignore queens.
Right. No, it's not good.
There are several galleries of portraits of past kings of Carnival, including those at the Rex Den and those at Antoine's, for example. But a project over the next year is to accumulate pictures of every past queen of Carnival and to display those on our walls at the Den. It's an undertaking that the Carnival Queens Club is helping me with. We'll try to find an image of every single one. If we can't find one, we'll just keep looking. But these are lovely old images and a glorious history here that somehow we've looked at in bits and pieces, but never a comprehensive display of past queens of the recent past and of the distant past. So it will be a glorious hunt.
And we're back to our wonderful show and tell. This year's Rex Ducal for the ladies of members of the crew, their friends and spouses, and also for the men's on the left. But there's an inspiration from an earlier.
Yes, from an early ducal decoration from the 1880s. A beautiful jeweled piece, and I think this recreates that image in a nice way.
Well, what I also really like is the fact that many of the Rexes have their own special pin that they give to their friends and family members, and this one is Rex, and we'll probably see a close-up of it, but there's the river running through it. Tell us about that.
Yes, when this is Mike Kearney's pin given to friends and to his court, and Mike is all about the river. He has worked on the river, stevedoring, warehousing, freight shipping, all of those things, as well as with the railways that support that. So
yes.
It was a perfect symbol for him to have the Mississippi River and the crescent superimposed on the Rex.
And we didn't have a chance to show you the Rex Cup. Every year there's a commemorative cup. This year was His Majesty's Bandwagon.
We had, each of our floats had its own cup. So there was the theme, and every single one of those floats had cups and beads.
Wow,
all
fancy.
Individualized. So.
Absolutely. You know, there's long been a tradition of famous people visiting a carnival. In 1920, one of America's most beloved heroes visited our city, and the welcome was a warm one, to say the least, as Sally Asher reminds us.
In 1920, New Orleans was coming off a long losing streak. In 1918, Mardi Gras was canceled due to World War I, and it was scaled back in 1919. Also in that year, the French Opera House, home to carnival balls for decades, burned down. And then came the final blow, Prohibition.
Former prominent attendants at the carnival will be sadly missed in the persons of Bacchus, Barleycorn, and Gambrinus. It cannot be denied that their presence loaned to every gathering an esprit de corps, madcap liveliness, never may hope to replace. The Times-Picayune, February 16, 1920.
New Orleans needed the 1920 Mardi Gras to be momentous. New Orleans needed a hero. Enter Army General John Joseph Blackjack Pershing.
During World War I, General Pershing was the commanding general of all American forces. He had been the one that put together the Army, some 4.5 million men that served. Because of his triumph, President Wilson and Congress awarded him the title of General of the Armies. He's the only living soldier ever accorded that privilege. Pershing's title spoke volumes about America's respect and about America's feelings toward this world-class hero.
Locals rolled out the red carpet for Pershing's Goodwill Tour. The Central Business District was festooned with purple, gold, and green, along with red, white, and blue in his honor. Businesses ran advertisements welcoming him. He arrived in New Orleans the day before Mardi Gras.
They lined the streets with flags and with shouts and huzzahs for General Pershing. And when he showed up at Lafayette Square to address the people of New Orleans, 20,000 people crowded into that tiny square across from City Hall, now Gallier Hall. It was overwhelming. He was just mobbed by people, calling him the greatest hero of their generation, which he was.
At one point, his motorcade was surrounded by Newcomb College girls, and he found himself stuck in the adoring throng.
More girls climbed upon each running board than the automobile was intended to hold. They came over the windshield and attacked from the rear under cover of the spare tire. General Pershing got out and shook hands with every one. Then the girls presented him with a piece of Newcomb pottery, and General Pershing kissed Miss Rosa Hart, voted wittiest girl at Newcomb. The New Orleans item, February 17, 1920.
The real spectacle, however, came on Mardi Gras Day. Pershing stood in front of City Hall in the rain before a large crowd of wet revelers. He was dubbed the Duke of Victory by Rex official Charles Janvier, who presented the war hero with the gold and diamond medal. Pershing was then whisked to the Boston Club and introduced to the Queen of Carnival, Miss Eleanor Bright. His final stop was an appearance before the Court of Rex in the Athenaeum.
Never has the Crescent City greeted a hero with greater enthusiasm. Andrew Jackson was hailed as the savior of New Orleans, but the reception accorded General Pershing was a greater welcome by a greater city, the New Orleans States, February 16, 1920.
Despite the excitement created by the savior of freedom, Pershing's visit could not distract from New Orleans' loss of an essential ingredient for revelry, booze.
In spite of the preparations for the great day, Mardi Gras 1920 was but a sad reminder of happier years. The sadness was not due to the weather alone. Rain has marred Carnival of older years, but never had a carnival been met with less enthusiasm than that of this year. The alcoholic stimulants, which warmed many past cold carnivals, were absent. Perhaps there will be other carnivals, brilliant and joyful, but it is hardly to be expected that the tone and temper of the days before the war will ever be renewed. The Times-Picayune, February 18, 1920.
Thus, the return of Carnival in 1920 was bittersweet, with the weather lending a cruel irony. New Orleans' first dry Mardi Gras was sopping wet.
And we are so delighted to have with us and really honored our Police Chief Michael Harrison. And thanks for being with us once again.
Thank you, my pleasure.
And you get to rest, but it's been a busy past few days.
It's been a busy past few days. We have one more thing to do tonight, and that's officially close Bourbon Street. And so I will be joined by Colonel Edmondson and all of our assistant chiefs, along with his senior staff, members of departments of corrections, and we will take our traditional walk down Bourbon Street at midnight to officially close Carnival.
So you walk, you don't ride on a horse?
I don't ride on a horse, I walk. We will have horses, I will not be on them. I rode this morning for half of the route. It was a wonderful ride, but tonight I'll be walking.
So what's the verdict on the season? I know there was a lot of talk about having expanded safety procedures. Did things work out?
Things worked out really well. We had a lot of support from both local, state, and federal partners, all the way through the FBI, ATF, DEA, Homeland Security. A lot of resources were brought to New Orleans to make sure we were safe, and we were. With the climate around the country and the world, with what's happened in other places, we felt the need to bring those resources in. And so while you may not have always seen it, they were always behind the scenes making sure we were safe. With technology, with all types of intelligence resources, everybody really chipped in to make this Mardi Gras safe Mardi Gras, and it was. We had a couple of isolated incidents. We had one earlier this evening. A couple of people shot, very minor injuries, but we actually caught the perpetrator long after the parade was over. So really, Mardi Gras went really well this year with no major incidents during Mardi Gras. And we're really proud that the men and women stepped up and did a great job once again, showing the world that we are the absolute best at what we do.
And especially the enormity of Mardi Gras, the size. I mean, you got nights when you got 1 million people in the streets for 3 or 4 nights in a row, and to still just be able to keep all that secure is amazing.
It's amazing, and the weather was so good the first weekend that the crowds were larger than expected. The weather was really good this weekend. A little bit chilly yesterday and today, but no clouds in the sky, no rain, and we had record turnout. And the men and women of the police department, along with all of our partners, did a great job keeping everybody safe.
Now, Chief, you have some personal Mardi Gras memories because you were actually in a marching band.
I was in a number of marching bands, elementary, middle and junior high, and in high school here in New Orleans.
Which high school?
I went to McDonald 35.
All right.
And they are still looking good, still kicking. I'm proud to see them when they come down the street, but I was in the band 4 years, 2 years as a drum major, so it brings back a lot of memories. So Mardi Gras has been a part of me literally all of my life.
So you were showing police chief tendencies back then, being a drum major.
Some would say. Some would say, yes.
What instrument did you play?
I played trombone.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Chief. We really
thank you so much.
Being here.
It's always a
busy
pleasure
guy.
being here, so thank you for having me.
Pleasure with ours. And now let's take a moment to thank those who made tonight's broadcast possible. Thank you, sir. Great.
Funding for the 2016 Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is made possible through generous community support. Longer than streetcars have been rolling down the tracks, Iberia Bank has been part of the New Orleans landscape. We believe in making our community better by giving back through charitable, educational, and cultural efforts that enhance our city, such as this broadcast on WYES. The Gustav Westphal McElhenney Family Foundation supports the renewal of New Orleans and the ongoing process of transforming our city's schools. Rex organization volunteers and the Pro Bono Publico Foundation are helping assure that every child in New Orleans can attend an excellent school. Terry White and Ralph Brennan celebrate Brennan's restaurant's 70th year with Chef Slade Rushing's modern interpretations of classic Creole cuisine, served in Brennan's elegant dining rooms, Roost Bar, and Courtyard. Brennan's, 417 Royal Street in the French Quarter. Fidelity Bank, as New Orleans as king cake, parades, beads, doubloons, and the families that get together to celebrate them all. Serving this community since 1908. Hail Rex, hail Comus, happy Mardi Gras. Support is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of legal services to a wide range of local, regional, national, and international client base. Online at joneswalker.com.
Adler's, honored to be part of New Orleans traditions since 1898.
New Orleans wouldn't be New Orleans without wrought iron, or the cathedral, or its ancient live oaks. And New Orleans wouldn't be New Orleans without Whitney Bank. Whitney Bank, a part of the fabric of New Orleans.
And by Robert Fresh Market. Do you speak fresh? And Lakeview Grocery on Harrison Avenue. Abita Beer, craft brewed for the way Louisiana loves to live. Support comes from Baker Donaldson, lawyers and advisors proud to serve the business community and support local programming. Chaff McCall, proud to celebrate Carnival and honor the monarchs of Mardi Gras and the tradition of service before self. Poydras Home, independent living, assisted living, and nursing care in the heart of Uptown. Additional support by Bellwether Technology.
And now here's our third and final Carnival quiz question. And now our final question. According to mythology, who is the father of Comus? You can email your answers to carnivalquiz@wyes.org. Or you can mail in your entry to Carnival Quiz, WYES-TV, 916 Navarre Avenue, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70124. The deadline for us to receive the entries is Tuesday, February 16th at 5 p.m. The entries must contain the correct answers to all 3 questions. 1 entry per person, please. Those entries will be put into a drawing, and winners will be announced on WYES's Steppin' Out program on Friday, February 19th at 7:30 and 11 p.m. The name of the winners and answers to the questions will be posted on WYES's website, wyes.org, the following Monday. We also welcome your comments about tonight's broadcast. Once again, email us at carnivalquiz@wyes.org. Good luck on the Carnival Quiz.
Let's fly down a drive.
And we're showing you, of course, the Rex side of the Sheraton Hotel. In just a few minutes, though, we'll be going across the street, magically, to the Marriott Hotel, the home of the Comus Ball. And just a few minutes ago, when Comus appeared, he made himself apparent behind a sort of a very secret scrim. Here we are, very magical, very mysterious, remembering Comus from the 1850s, 1857 to be exact, when he made his first appearance. In the dark and very, very mysterious, and Comus with his cup and his mask that you'll see in brighter lights a little bit later. There we go. Always carrying that magical cup.
And of the four monarchs, Comus is the only one whose identity is always kept secret. Theoretically, the only one who knows who Comus is the captain who selected Comus.
And Comus being the son of Circe and Bacchus, and in mythology known for chaos, creating chaos, and always sort of walking around looking a little bit like maybe he's had too much fun. But do not taste that of his cup, because if you do, you will very likely be turned into, at least the top part of your body will be turned into a beast. So that was his initial appearance, and we'll be getting to visit with the entire Comus Ball in just a very few minutes. But now there's still activity on the rec side, as you can see. People still in the visiting mode as well.
We know this is kind of a tradition.
Did you see that? Yeah, point that out, Aaron.
It's an after-the-ball tradition that people who aren't going to the Comus side, if they got a few extra minutes, they go and they pose in front of the benches where the king and queen sit in front of their thrones. And look at that.
And now we're actually going to go back over to Comus and show you a really delightful tradition based once again on the 1800s and art. We will be seeing some of the dancing heads on the Comus side. Here we go. That's a wonderful picture. Here we are. Stephen, can you want to share a little bit about these?
You know, we have images of the early Comus parades and festivities, and there's such a rich art tradition here, and the dancing heads are part of that. Sometimes animals, sometimes grotesque, sometimes figures, oftentimes figures from the themed parades that Comus presented in those early decades of Carnival in New Orleans. And that informed our whole tradition. I mean, we still, in some of our Rex parades, we've had dancing heads introduced, but it will always be a nod to Comus, and they've preserved that tradition even as they have ceased parading. It's still these elements of Comus's artistic tradition and history, part of their celebration.
I understand that the gentlemen who are wearing those hats, well, first of all, they're pretty heavy, and so it's usually the newer members who get to take that on. You know? And even though Comus no longer parades, they do have a members' dinner prior to the ball, and my understanding is they sort of do a little bit of a parading on the streets in the quarter beforehand too. Some folks wearing those heads.
They do, and they will carry their cowbells and their rakes with them.
That's right.
That's a nod to old tradition and old connections also. And I do think we need we've lost a wonderful tradition on the streets, but Comus will always be the first organization to parade on Mardi Gras in New Orleans, and in these beautiful themed parades that many organizations now present are absolutely a tribute and a continuity of that Comus tradition. And they also their mystic crew, their quiet, more hidden qualities, really a counterpart to Rex's more public face of Carnival.
Absolutely.
There has always been an overlap between membership and a need for both of those. It would be, I can't imagine one without the other, and thus the meeting of the courts brings those two traditions together, more of the private side and the very deep history of Comus, and the public presentation of the Rex organization.
Yeah. And once again, we see that canvas, that Foster Awning provides a canvas for both the Comus and Rex Ball, and when we get to the Rex Ball, we'll see a crown, actually a cup, because of course that's the logo.
We mentioned earlier that Comus really established a lot of the traditions in Carnival, the most famous being krewe, that kind of like faux Old English spelling. The style of parade was all really launched by Comus. And at the time that Comus started, for many years until Rex started, there really wasn't a parade other than 12th Night Revelers. And so 12th Night Revelers paraded at the beginning, Comus at the end. So it's like you had parades at the bookends of the Carnival season, but with nothing in between. But during those years that Carnival, that Comus paraded, it was a sight to behold. It was an old style parade. It went down along the St. Charles route. And I'll always have memories of being on Canal Street and looking down St. Charles and seeing the Comus floats approaching with this gold hue and this lighting from the flambeau. And to see the parade, it was an old style parade with esoteric themes, and it was a parade that you had to enjoy just as historic preservation. And it's a loss to Carnival because it was always the exclamation point of Carnival. When Comus passed, it was over.
And here we are, live at the Comus Ball, and we get to meet Comus, as we said, who always wears the mysterious mask. And this is our very first glimpse at Lily Reese Saer, who is the Queen of Carnival. Earlier today, you met two of her brothers, who were Rex Dukes, but you'll note the colorful lieutenant's costumes, not in typical purple, green, and gold, but instead in multicolored, almost a rainbow palette, don't you think?
Indeed. Lily's a very talented woman, a wonderful athlete. She's played very high-level soccer for some time. She and as I talked with her yesterday, I asked her how it would be to have her brother and cousins bowing to her, and she said her brother quickly volunteered that he'd always been subservient to her.
And she is attending University of Georgia.
Yes,
and here we get to meet our pages tonight, and this is one of Comus's page, Mr. Clayton Spencer Murphy, and he is the son of William Spencer Murphy and Courtney Brooke Hall Murphy, and he is attending Trinity Episcopal School. He's in the 5th grade, and he was told that he was going to be a page, and we're on their way to try the costume, but he didn't know which ball, and so he was really delighted. Also, he was promised to go fishing too if he wanted to be in the ball as well. It was kind of funny, but it was hard to keep a secret, he said, but he did. So that's our first page. And our other Comus page, Mr. St. Denis Julian Villery, yes, and he is the son of Mr. and Mrs. St. Denis Villery III, and he is at Trinity Episcopal. He's in 5th grade, and he has some family royalty, doesn't he?
Yes, his cousin Scout Baron was queen in 2015. Jack Currants was a page in 2015. Goes by Saint.
It does, yes, and it's really hard to tell the pages. Once they're in those wigs, it is very difficult to tell the identity, but we're doing our best. And we'll be meeting the Comus Queens pages in just a moment. And this is Thomas Westfelt Werner, and he is the son of Mr. and Mrs. John Donaldson Werner. He is a Newman attendee at 5th grade, and he too has a lot of family royalty, doesn't he?
Yes, indeed. His aunt Grace Hofer was a queen of Comus. Also, cousin Grace Hofer was a queen.
And
also some pages.
And he was a page this year in Mithras and last year in Atlanteans. And next up, Mr. John Blakemore Schwing Jr., also known as Jack, and he is the son of John Blakemore Schwing and Elizabeth Conway Schwing. He is a 5th grader at Metairie Park Country Day, and he was also in 12th night this year, and his mom told him that that he would be a page, and he was extremely excited. And he has family royalty as well, doesn't he?
Several members of his family have been maids in the Comus court.
And while we are live at the Comus Ball, we are going to also go out on Canal Street so that you see the crossing of the court of Rex on their way to the ball. Once again, the magic of TV here. And there's the captain leading.
This is Carnival's newest tradition, the crossing of the courts.
Yes, indeed.
And it has its followers. Look at all the people taking a...
There they go, Miss Goodyear.
So why does Rex cross the street, to get to the Comus Ball? You'll notice that the Comus Ball, it's really a different thing than what we call the Rex Ball. This is more of a masquerade ball, that the members are all in costume, whereas the Rex Ball is really officially called a reception. It's a reception. It's one that you dress formally for, but it's two different things, and so they go from one to the other to the masquerade ball, and so you're seeing the Comus maskers.
And speaking of lovely costumes, let me describe for you our queen's incredible dress. She is wearing a gown of silver silk lame layered with metallic netting and plume embroidered illusion, designed by Suzanne St. Paul. The strokes of feathered plumes were created with bugle beads, sequins, rocaille beads, and Swarovski crystals. Deep inverted pleats extended from the empire line to the hem and were defined by pearl, crystal, and beaded vines of lilies of the valley. Of course, very appropriate. That is the Comus signature emblem, but her name being Lily, and a heavily encrusted scallop lace finished the bodice and sweeping train. Her brilliant look is completed, which you'll see a little bit later, with the organization's traditional Medici collar, fur-trimmed mantle, crown and scepter, and royal jewels. Once again, those jewels are owned by the organization, aren't they, Stephen?
It's a beautiful scepter, beautiful queen.
And we get to visit now with the maids of Comus. And first is Miss Mary Faith Lindner, known as Mary Faith, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Russell Craig Lindner, and she is attending the University of Georgia, majoring in Spanish, and she is majoring in marketing and minoring in Spanish.
And she's also Lily Saer's roommate.
Oh, all right.
At school. Her mother, Mimsy Yuji Lindner, and Sister Blake Clark Lindner were Comus maids.
Yes, and Jean Tate Maybon, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Thomas Starr Maybon, and she is attending University of Georgia, you just said, and she's majoring in mathematics and would like a career in banking.
Yes. This family moved to Atlanta and has moved back, and we're glad to see families come back this way. Tate's a bright math student, very capable.
Indeed. And next up, Caroline Bernard McGraw, and she is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Marvin Philip McGraw III, and she attends Spring Hill College, majoring in public relations and minoring in political science. And she was a maid in Twelfth Night Revelers and Atlanteans, and some other lineage there too.
Yeah, some of her ancestors go back to her great-great-grandmother Lydia Winship, who was in the Comus court in 1895.
And soon we'll be meeting, here we go, with Miss McGraw. And soon we'll be meeting Sarah Marie Favreau McClellan, and she is known as Sadie, and she's the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. John Richmond McClellan. She attends Loyola University, majoring in musical theater, and previous balls include Harlequins, Squires, Apollo, and some family connections there too.
Her sister, Charlotte Eugenie Gilbert McClellan, and an aunt, Susan Favreau McClellan, were maids in the Comus court. I think we have a number of members of these courts heading for the film industry.
Yeah, they certainly do seem like it.
Young men and women.
Mm-hmm. And next up is Emily Louise Ebel Nelson, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Albert James Nelson IV. She attends LSU, and her major is child life specialist and minor is mass communications.
And they're still talking about her Deb party. She is a magnificent singer. She apparently joined the band, and many thought she was part of it. She was just that good.
Wow.
She's described as a bundle of energy and with a wonderful voice.
And our final member of our court is Rosemary Conrad Turner, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. John McDuffie Turner Jr. She currently attends the University of Alabama, and she is majoring in finance and computer technology and applications.
Mm-hmm. Her sister, Greer Turner, was a maid in the Comus court. She's also a strong soccer player. I think last year we had a tennis team going. This year we have some very competitive women's soccer players.
And that is the court of the Mystic Crew of Comus, and they don't quite have the Grand March and the display in terms of doing a curtsy per se, but they do it in their own casual way here.
So shortly, Rex and his queen and their entourage should be arriving. and there will be somewhere in the center of the floor, and Comus and his queen will be escorted to the same location across from the two. And then you'll see the meeting in the courts, which is just a long time ritual, and this event is known for that. Then a little bit later, you're going to see the closing of the curtains on Carnival. That you'll see the various monarchs escorted off. Comus leaves first, and then Rex, and their queens. And then they'll be in the hands of the captain, who will get his lieutenants, and they will signal the curtains closed, and Mardi Gras 2009 will be over.
2016.
Well, I meant to say Mardi Gras, which is on February 9th of 2016, will be over.
And the trumpeters are nigh, so we know we're about to have a meeting of the courts of Rex and the Mystic Crew of Comus.
There's one person I wanted to acknowledge when we're looking at all the royalty of these organizations. There have been many people who've made a lot of major contributions. This past year we lost Beauregard Bassage, who was for many years a captain of Proteus. He was a past Rex. He probably wore more crowns than anybody else. He loved Carnival, and he was very, very active in it.
And the captain is signaling.
And as captain, he rode the White Horse in Proteus. And then later in his retirement years, he went and volunteered at City Park, and he was active in restoring the carousels. So horses, either wooden or real, were part of his life. But last night in the Proteus parade, at the head of the parade, they had a riderless horse in honor of Beau Bassage.
It's a wonderful honor to him. One of my last memories of Beau was at the Rex stand after the flag raising last year. The Marine band assembled in front of the den. Beau walked out there, stood ramrod straight, had his Marine cap on, and they played the Marine hymn for him. He was a Marine in World War II.
He was.
And he just helped raise the flag. He was weakening some, but as you say, Errol, he really contributed so much to Mardi Gras. One of those powerful forces that helps this celebration be all it can be.
And note the cup. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, he'd be the first to tell you that he wanted to be in the Marines and go fight the war so badly that he kind of exaggerated his age. But he got in the Marines, and his mother was none too pleased. But he fought in the Pacific, where earlier when we saw the Marines playing that medley of songs about the Pacific, I thought that was very moving, because when you look at World War II, maybe the worst part was the island hopping that went on the Pacific. That was the roughest part, and Beau Bassage was part of that.
And we noticing earlier, you saw the cup, the emblem of the cup in the middle of the floor and the canvas. And here is the captain. Here we go. With Todd Englehart and Barney Floyd, our royal trumpeters, will be leading the court, and of course the King of Carnival and his lovely queen. Here we go. Todd on the left and Barney on the right. Love their costumes.
And you said one of them played with Dr. John?
Yes, Barney on the right.
And we have a cardiothoracic surgeon
yes,
out there
on the
playing
left.
trumpet. So.
On the left.
Pretty impressive.
Pretty talented, yes. If ever I cease to love, the anthem of Carnival. We're rating the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus, and here's the led by the captain. Miss Goodyear, Mr. Kearney, about to visit Comus and his queen. Since 1882, this wonderful ritual that is really the climax to Carnival. Note the silver and the gold.
Okay, so this would be the meeting of the courts.
Rex and Comus. And now it's all up to the captain, right, Errol?
Captain's rule.
Changing the partners here. Robert Maxwell in the back with the Jimmy Maxwell Orchestra conducting.
This shares a lot with the ballet, I think. It's carefully choreographed, it's meaningful, it's the same and it's different every year. Traditional, new faces.
Errol, I know we have a bit of a tradition of our own in terms of quoting from a beloved Carnival historian. Would you do the honors?
Yeah, for as long as we've been doing this broadcast, we've always quoted from maybe the most beautiful passage ever written about Mardi Gras. A guy named Perry Young, who wrote a book called The Mystic Krewe, had this in his introductory essay. And for many years when Henri was on the show, he would do it. And I could tell you, Henri wasn't reading the script. He was doing it from memory, okay, with a lot of emotion. But it's, I just think it's so beautiful that we always just want to repeat it. And Young wrote that Carnival is the butterfly of winter. Its last mad flight of Mardi Gras forever ends its glory. Another season is the glory of another butterfly, and the tattered, scattered fragments of rainbow wings are in turn the record of his day. That sounds nice. It's a beautiful metaphor about the butterfly of winter. Perry Young could have stopped right there and would have had something great. But, you know, the second paragraph, what he's talking about is that there's so much to Carnival. Beyond the butterfly, there's the tattered, scattered fragments of rainbow wings. And so to understand it, especially those of us, and I know Steve can relate to this, those of us who've done research on Carnival, it's just so deep and extensive, and there's just so much of it in New Orleans. And so we spend a lot of time looking for those tattered, scattered fragments of rainbow wings.
And we notice the mask of Comus, which tonight is smiling, but not always, often. Every once in a while, maybe not so smiling, but for many years, those masks, which were made of wax, were made in France and imported here too. And Comus's costume actually dates back to the 1930s, his current costume, and noting the tri-plume, which is certainly part of the signature of Comus.
Two very beautiful queens this year, just and close friends. They had their debutante party together this year at Antoine's, just a glorious evening, and very, very, very bright young women, very capable young women. And it was a great party.
And it was a great party. And we should also point out that this is the 20th time that WYES is allowed to give you this broadcast of the meeting of the courts and, of course, the Rex Ball. We're so thrilled that your community station can share this with all of our viewers. It really means a lot, and we're so thrilled we can give you a front row seat.
When I see Lily with her scepter, I'm reminded of a story her mother told me. When Lily was going downtown to a rehearsal, she took her scepter with her, and the taxi driver looked at the scepter and said, "Where are we going, to the quarter?" Going to rehearsal. This doesn't just happen. There's a lot of work and preparation that goes into this.
Also, the cultural economy. That's something that folks don't necessarily think about.
Costumes and dressmakers and jewelers and printers and artists. And if taking that analogy, if this is a butterfly, it's a beautiful butterfly.
Yes. And as we see our King of Carnival, there have been some connections that I know you wanted to share with us concerning Memphis.
Yes, Mike is a man of the river, and the connection between Memphis and New Orleans in terms of Mardi Gras goes back to the 1880s when there was quite a rivalry. Memphis, in the late 1880s, yellow fever struck there and it really stopped Carnival. But Carnival Memphis started up again in the 20th century. And Mike Kearney connected with Carnival Memphis, Beeley Mallory, several other gentlemen there, and there's now a regular pilgrimage back and forth. A number of our Memphis our friends are members of the Rex organization. We regularly go up to visit their celebrations. And that's one of Mike's favorite projects, and I think it's so like him to see that opportunity and pull it together. We've had a number of the Memphis friends with us tonight at the ball, and I know they'll be celebrating later tonight.
But many cities tried to reproduce the carnival like ours, and it was impossible to do it like ours. They could have had an abridged version.
Last. Yeah.
But there's reasons of geography and heritage and ancestry, but it just never worked as fully in other cities as it does here.
No, it doesn't export well.
St. Louis, Saratoga. I know you've done a lot of research in Saratoga.
We tried to go to New York, and Saratoga Springs, also New York City, and didn't take. Portland, Oregon's Rose Festival was originally going to be a Rex organization celebration. Rex Oregonus was going to preside over that, but that failed. I tell visitors to the city that Carnival can only happen where it's warm and it's Catholic and it's a little bit crazy, and that's us. When I hear Aida, and we hear it played by orchestras in a ball like this, certainly traditional, the Louisiana Philharmonic Orchestra in a recent concert that had a theme of Carnival did the full operatic Aida, this Grand March, and it was magnificent. Trumpeters up in the balconies and Carlos Miguel Prieto conducting this, and I was so delighted to hear the full version of this that I've heard so many times, but sometimes with a very small orchestra you lose the beauty of what it was with a huge symphony in an opera hall.
This song has become so attached to Carnival, hasn't it, Errol?
It has. And the premiere of Aida was in December 1871 at the Cairo Opera House, because the ruler there had commissioned it because of the opening of the Suez Canal. So that's December 1871. The first Rex parade was February 1872. And so Aida and Rex had their debuts only weeks apart. Now, I don't think Rex made it to New Orleans in time for 1872. It was years later. But they were of the same time, in the same period, when there was just a new prosperity and all the excitement that the Suez Canal was promising. And if you look at some of the parades around that time, a lot of them had Egyptian themes too, because they're just kind of capitalizing on that. But it's a beautiful, beautiful piece of music.
Comus and the Queen of Carnival, the King of Carnival and the Comus Queen. Ready to scepters in one cup.
Absolutely. And another famous scene of Carnival right here. The General Sceptering. Trying to figure out who's going to go first. Here we go. Let's go. There we go. Oh, what a great scene. And Errol, as you said earlier, no one knows or shall we say it is a very well-kept secret, the identity of Comus. He is not identified publicly by any means, or it's quite the mystery. And they are flanked by their courts.
But the Rex members and the Comus members, especially at the leadership level, I think have a good relationship, and there's reason to believe that past Rexes have been Comuses and probably past Comuses have been Rexes. But we have no idea who the six Comus is.
And now they're going to the Jolly Coppersmith and some general dancing. And we want to tell you that memories of being the Queen of Comus are indelibly etched for some young ladies and are even made more special when they are shared. Here's my interview with this year's Queen of Comus, Lily Reese Saer.
I go to the University of Georgia, where I'm a junior. I'm majoring in communications and I'm minoring in French. My earliest memories of Carnival are being on St. Charles Avenue. My dad was in Rex, so we'd wait and we'd see him and he'd hand these big, huge bags of beads and stuffed animals and all that. And also always going to the Rex Den, seeing all the floats, sometimes getting to sneak up on a few, which was really fun for me as a little girl. I know I used to wear a princess costume. My mom said it was really hard to get me out of it, so I'd wear it for days on end. My mom called me and told me I needed to come in town to take my Deb pictures, which of course I didn't think anything of it. I was like, okay, I'm coming. And there were 3 presents on the table. And so they said, you need to open them in this order, this one first and this one last. So I opened the first one and it was a pin that my mom had worn in Comus. And she explained, this is what I got when I was a maid in Comus. And then I opened the second one and it was a cup that my dad had gotten when he was a page in Comus. And then I opened the third one and it was a replica of the crown that you would wear in Comus. And my mom said, you're gonna be the Queen of Comus. And I was so excited. I was like, oh my goodness, I had no idea. I thought I was going to take pictures. All 3 of my brothers were pages in Comus. My dad was a page in Comus, and my mom was a maid in Comus. And I had a cousin who was recently Rex Queen and an aunt who was Rex Queen as well. I would watch the meeting of the courts when I was little with one of my really good friends who is in the grade below me, Elizabeth Red. And my parents would go, her parents would go, and we'd sit and we'd watch it until we'd fall asleep, looking at the dresses and the queens and all of the jewels and, just ooh and ah over all of it. Thought it was so great. So I would just want to be those girls, but it never really dawned on me that I would get the chance. Suzanne Perron designed my dress, and, my mom really, really wanted the Lilies of the Valley to show through on this dress, just not only because it's the Comus flower, but it's also my name, and it was my grandmother's favorite flower. It's a very Comus dress, lots and lots and lots of lilies, which is really special for all the reasons I just named. So these are all individual lilies that are beaded, and they will be panels going down my dress. And then here is another lace that's beaded, which will go one way. It'll be at the top like this and at the bottom like this. And there are lilies too. We also have plumes on the dress, so it's, again, a very Comus dress. It is a silver dress because Comus is supposed to be silver and Rex is supposed to be gold. I am gonna be wearing all of the Comus jewels. It is lots of lilies, which is fun. After the ball, I will be at the Queen's Supper, letting loose, celebrating big. It's done. Hopefully hadn't messed up too bad and did what I was supposed to, because that's when I'm gonna have a lot of fun. It'll all be fun, but that's when the pressure's off. After the Queen's Supper, I believe we get on big buses and, we go to F&M's and have a good time. Continue the fun. Oh, I have a hard dose of reality on Wednesday. I had to go back to school. That thing that I've been skipping for a few weeks now.
And what a lovely and very well poised young lady. And we have some more show and tell to show you, including this year. And this doesn't happen every year. Comus decided to have for its family friends a beautiful scarf. This is Adler's, helped design it. And it is actually an homage to the 1873 parade, Comus Parade, which was missing species missing links, origin of species, and it was a real send-up of reconstruction, and some of the creatures that are on the scarf itself included Spoon's butler and also General Grant, but a very famous parade during Reconstruction that truly was very, very controversial.
It was a takeoff of Charles Darwin, of course.
Yes, a takeoff
Origin
of Darwin.
Species,
yes,
and
beautifully.
They sent him a copy of the script or something, and he was not amused at all.
He was not amused,
No,
that's right. And we also have the Comus invitation, and this year also sort of nature-related here, beautiful demoiselle, and you'll notice the dragonfly, and the spider's webs and butterflies and transformation, and the invitation here, yes. Now, on the invitation, you see butterflies and dragonflies. They're very beautifully done.
Some of the most beautiful early carnival art comes from Comus, jewelry, invitations.
Yes, and even though they don't parade, they still hand out doubloons when at the ball itself, and also from their dinner when they go from the restaurant to the ball itself. There we go. And once again, the cup, beautiful demoiselles, and the dragonfly. And Comus also has his own pin, the favor, if you will, and that is this year is a dragonfly. You see the dragonfly. Very beautiful, very sparkly, as we said. And then Comus had his own cup, and there's also a king's pin too, but we'll show you the cup here. And on the cup itself is our imprints of, once again, the origin of species as well. We've got the Comus's pin, which is a very special favor for members of the crew's wives and for his friends as well. Now, also spotting much of uptown New Orleans during the carnival season, if you notice around our flags with the Comus insignia and the Rex insignia, and which is really great and a very famous house there on St. Charles Avenue, the Dowman home, and it signifies that members of their family over the years have been part of Carnival and monarchs in Carnival. So I think that's a great photo that really says a lot, and flags are becoming more and more popular in other crews as well. So you can see there's still a little bit of action behind us. We're actually on the Sheraton side, and we'll be going back to the Comus Ball in just a few minutes. But now, though, let's take a moment to thank those who made tonight's broadcast possible.
Funding for the 2016 Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is made possible through generous community support. Longer than streetcars have been rolling down the tracks, Iberia Bank has been part of the New Orleans landscape. We believe in making our community better by giving back through charitable, educational, and cultural efforts that enhance our city, such as this broadcast on WYES. The Gustav Westphal McElhenney Family Foundation supports the renewal of New Orleans and the ongoing process of transforming our city's schools. Rex organization volunteers and the Pro Bono Publico Foundation are helping assure that every child in New Orleans can attend an excellent school. Terry White and Ralph Brennan celebrate Brennan's restaurant's 70th year with Chef Slade Rushing's modern interpretations of classic Creole cuisine, served in Brennan's elegant dining rooms, roost bar, and courtyard. Brennan's, 417 Royal Street in the French Quarter.
New Orleans wouldn't be New Orleans without wrought iron, or the cathedral, or its ancient live oaks. And New Orleans wouldn't be New Orleans without Whitney Bank. Whitney Bank, a part of the fabric of New Orleans.
Support is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of legal services to a wide range of local, regional, national, and international client base. Online at joneswalker.com. The Rex Ball and the Meeting of the Courts of Rex and Comus is also brought to you by Riley Foods and French Market Coffee. For the past 125 years, French Market Coffee has brought you all the flavor of New Orleans in a cup. Christwood, a retirement destination located in St. Tammany Parish, features cottages and apartment homes along with the assurance of quality health care. Personal tours are available. The New Orleans Tourism Marketing Corporation wishes visitors and citizens a happy Mardi Gras and a great year ahead. New Orleans visitor information available at followyournola.com. Chaff McCall, proud to celebrate Carnival and honor the monarchs of Mardi Gras and the tradition of service before self. Poitras Home, independent living, assisted living, and nursing care in the heart of Uptown.
And we're back, and we wanted to show you just one more show and tell. Stephen?
You know, sometimes the queens of Comus and Rex do their own little special gift, and in past years it might have been a pin. This year they designed some beautiful cufflinks, and with the intertwined R for Rex and C for Comus, delivered with a lovely card from Their Majesties, the Queen of Comus and the Queen of Carnival.
Very elegant.
Very elegant indeed.
And let's go back to the dance floor. There's still plenty of opportunity for Comus members and their guests to kick up their dance heels and just kick up their heels and have a really good time. And you see some of the splendidly costumes on the Comus side, and it's just fun to kind of look at the great gowns too, to people watch here as well.
Well, actually, the opportunity is winding down because we shouldn't be too far away when they clear the floor, and the captains pretty much begin to shut down the ball, which to me is one of the really great traditions, and for us to see the closing of the curtain. So there'll be a few more minutes of dancing, but hang on for the closing of the curtain on Mardi Gras.
You know, as Errol pointed out, the Comus ball is a very different ball from the Rex ball in the sense that it really tracks the old tradition of masked balls with call-outs and the members of the organization in mask and costume, and the presentation of royalty, and the marches, the presentation of debutantes. The Rex Ball was always to be a more public thing. For so many years it was called the Imperial Reception. Some years 15,000 invitations were issued, and the largest halls in the city were open to accommodate that. The Comus Ball has always been a smaller and far more private and far more traditional masked ball format. At this point, we have both things converging a little bit. Many Rex members, as you'll see in the foreground here, have come over from the Rex side and joining the masked, costumed Comus members, dancing together. As Errol says, in a while we'll have the captains clear the dance floor for the final moments of the meeting of the courts and the final moments of Carnival. But right now you have maskers, and you have Rex members, and you have members of the military dancing and enjoying a more traditional ball.
Absolutely, and we must tell you that we at WYES, we're so thrilled once again. As we said, this is the 20th time we're able to present the Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus. We are certainly very, very attached and very devoted to doing local programs. So we've got some big plans with the tricentennial coming up in 2018. We have a 1.5 hour documentary on the history of the city. We have a book that's being planned that is being done in conjunction with YES and Pelican Publishing. And we are very appreciative of the Historic New Orleans Collection and the Moreau Foundation, because they're helping us make possible all of that. And a lot of plans, a lot more than even that. We've got a lot of things going, plus a national cooking series, Cooking with Kevin Belton, that's airing nationally in April. So we're really, really excited. And Once again, we appreciate all the community support to bring this program to you and all the ones that we've just mentioned. General dancing, I love it. I just love watching to see what everybody's wearing, and I think that there's some probably little girls at home right now who are doing the same thing, and in 20 years or so, or less than that rather, maybe they'll be on the dance floor too. And the dancing heads, we've got the dancing heads as well. They keep them on, wow, most of the evening. They're troopers, don't you think?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, we know with this being the 20th broadcast of this ball that now we're at the stage where there are girls who were maids and queens who grew up watching the ball ever since they were little girls. Okay? And that makes a big difference because prior to that, they really wouldn't have had anything to see it by unless their parents took them a year or two before or something. You know.
Well, and of course, in the 1950s up until the early 1990s, in 1991, WGSU aired just the meeting of the courts from 11:30 to 12, which we were all grateful to see. And then in 1997, we were able to bring the entire Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts to you. But we have memories of watching on Channel 6.
Well, yeah, the Channel 6
it meant something.
Meeting of the courts.
Yeah.
It was a very very stilted broadcast. It was,
yes.
And it just focused on that meeting of the courts.
But we were grateful it was there.
Yeah, I, as a kid, I watched every time. But I'd like to think that this broadcast gives people more inspiration. I mean,
and worldwide, since we're streaming.
The imagination.
Absolutely.
It also wouldn't happen without a lot of collaboration between Rex and the Mystic Crew of Comus. These are the captains of these organizations work closely together. A delegation from Comus, led by the captain, visits the Rex Den early in the morning before the parade, visited this morning and toasted the King of Carnival, wished him a happy and safe ride. Look forward to the visit tonight. So it's these connections and interconnections are nice traditions.
Absolutely. And back to the fact that we're streaming. This is the second year we're streaming, and we were able to find out that last year viewers watched, in addition to America, in over 14 countries, including Albania and Sudan. And so, needless to say, we were very honored by the fact that we have such international viewers.
I wonder what they thought of this in Sudan.
I don't know. I wonder if any king cakes were ordered or whatever, you know.
They love carnival balls in Sudan.
They love carnival balls, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, we're getting to the big moment now. They're clearing the floor, right? You see the Comus captain. He's in so many words saying, okay, go back to your seats, because we are now coming to the final moments of Mardi Gras right now.
Literally and figuratively closing the curtain, getting ready. And tonight, though, the monarchs are still being busy because there's usually a Queen's Supper.
A Queen's Supper. And it is not a breakfast, although it may go on to the wee hours. This is given jointly by the Queens and the organizations. Dancing. These are young people, and so you will see the Queen of Carnival and the Queen of Comus still with their collars and their gowns, without the mantles, obviously, dancing to an exciting band. It's very festive. I think it's really the last exertions before everyone gets up early tomorrow and takes the ashes and proceeds into Lent.
And the Queen of Comus has to go back to school early tomorrow,
she
as
does.
she told me. Oh.
One of the Comus maids actually, I think the math major, actually had to take a test this morning. Professor
really?
allowed to do it, but she needed to do that before the rest of the day unfolded. So academic obligations aren't ignored.
The captain of Comus.
By the way, Mardi Gras next year, February 28th.
Oof.
So it's almost.
You heard it first here.
So it's almost 3 weeks later. So. I want to congratulate all the people who put on Carnival, all the many captains and organizers, because they had a lot of pressure this year with this early Mardi Gras. I mean, you know, it's Christmas and Mardi Gras is close by, and they did a good job. By all accounts, it's been very successful.
time if ever I cease to love. Now you will note, though, the way our monarchs, in terms of the order that they leave, is, we'll show you shortly. And Lily Saer, the Splendid Queens for 2016. And you can really see the silver and the gold juxtaposition on that throne. And note MKC atop, Mystic Crew of Comus, M-I-S-T-I-C-K, an Old English spelling. Crew, we know, K-R-E-W-E, and Comus.
It's a lovely moment when each Comus and the Queen of Carnival will bow to each other, and the same too on the other side. Very graceful. Actually, Comus doesn't bow. Comus offers his cup.
Because he is a god.
And as we'll see, even though Rex is in Comus's house, Comus will leave first, which may seem impolite, but Comus is God. God trumps the king.
I loved seeing the pictures of Lily as a little girl in the interview you did, and hearing her talk about hoping she didn't mess up. And I will happily say that Queen Lily, you did not mess up. You were a glorious Queen of Comus. Robbie Saer escorting his daughter. Catherine can't be far behind. And wherever Ken Saer is, he's smiling. This is good. He's watching this somewhere.
Uh-oh. Poor little page.
Last gesture with his cup.
Oh, it's empty.
The last drop of Carnival.
That's right, the last drop of Carnival.
Now we have had a new tradition evolve over the last few weeks, last few years, where Rex, when he leaves, makes a gesture having to do something with him. And this is like his parting gesture, so we'll see if this happens again.
Wonderful King and Queen of Carnival. I think we've learned this year that you can come home again. Adelaide,
yes.
Always stayed connected here and daughter of the city, but also I'm glad we have a queen that speaks Mandarin. I think that's a brave, new, and very exciting world for our young people.
It is.
And because this year's carnival is early and next year's carnival is late, they're going to have 3 extra weeks of incumbency. We have to favor.
All right, let's see.
Let's see if
King
the
of
king does
Carnival,
it.
Michael Kearney.
Mike has been a very happy King of Carnival.
He really has.
Enjoyed
Got a
this
great
immensely.
smile.
He has been in the background and done so much for the organization, but this is his moment. actually his last moment as King of Carnival, at least in the public eye. Well earned.
Let's see.
Oh, a tennis racket.
Tennis racket.
Oh, there you go.
The avid tennis player.
Watch out for the lob. There it is.
Very
Okay,
good.
now let me ask you. He's showing his backhand. Is that what you?
No, I've suffered all of them.
And
wonderful,
6 times
wonderful
a week?
King of Carnival.
6
Good for
times
you,
a
Mike.
week. That was great.
I think the captains will also have something to do with each other here. By the way, a new tradition. Last night, the Rex captain and the King of Carnival passed briefly by the Proteus den just before they rolled.
Oh, that was
there
great.
we are, and saluted each other.
Shaking hands.
Yes, the Rex captain's lead. So
right.
just as it all started with Comus in 1857, he closes with Comus.
The end of Carnival.
I think that's a purple curtain.
Well, it's been a good,
it is.
a good carnival, a hurried carnival, but a successful carnival.
And once again, MKC, Mystic Crew of Comus. Yes, an early carnival, and the weather complied. It worked out today. It was really a beautiful day.
And there was
Very good.
no day like when the parades were rained out or anything.
No, we're so fortunate. MKC.
Streets were full, very happy people.
Absolutely. And just a reminder that a copy of tonight's broadcast will be available by calling 486-5511 or going online to WYES's online store at WYES.org. The price of the DVD is $34.95, and that includes shipping and handling. By the way, our broadcast will be repeated in its entirety immediately following the completion of this broadcast. Thank you so much to our crew this evening, Jim Moriarty, the executive producer, Barbara Sillery, our producer, our director, Will Morrow, chief engineer, Fred Barrett, associate producers, Ashley Richard Morris and Kelsey Schreiber, and video editor, Larry Russery, stage manager, Brooke Adams, and production assistants, Sharon Snowdy and Estelle DeVergis. And special thanks to the School of Design as well as the Mystic Crew of Comus. Thank you so much, Errol and Stephen, for a great job and for helping us share these wonderful, wonderful memories. And this great broadcast, once again, will be repeated immediately after this initial broadcast, too. And now we will leave you with and once again, it's George Schmidt. We'll be leaving you with George Schmidt, the wonderful singer and artist, and the new Leviathan Oriental Foxtrot Orchestra with the Anthem of Carnival, If Ever I Cease to Love. Good night, and happy Mardi Gras.
In a house, in a square, in a quadrant, in a street, in a lane, in a road. Turn to the left, on the right hand, you see there my true love's abode. I go there courting and crewing to my lover like a turtle dove, and swearing on my bended knees, if ever I cease to love, may sheep's heads grow on
Funding for the 2016 Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is made possible through generous community support. Longer than streetcars have been rolling down the tracks, Iberia Bank has been part of the New Orleans landscape. We believe in making our community better by giving back through charitable, educational, and cultural efforts that enhance our city, such as this broadcast on WYES. The Gustav Westphal McElhenney Family Foundation supports the renewal of New Orleans and the ongoing process of transforming our city's schools. Rex organization volunteers and the Pro Bono Publico Foundation are helping assure that every child in New Orleans can attend an excellent school. Terry White and Ralph Brennan celebrate Brennan's restaurant's 70th year with Chef Slade Rushing's modern interpretations of classic Creole cuisine, served in Brennan's elegant dining rooms, roost bar, and courtyard. Brennan's, 417 Royal Street in the French Quarter. Fidelity Bank, as New Orleans as king cake, parades, beads, doubloons, and the families that get together to celebrate them all. Serving this community since 1908. Hail Rex, hail Comus, happy Mardi Gras. Support is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of legal services to a wide range of local, regional, national, and international client base. Online at joneswalker.com. The Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is also brought to you by Riley Foods and French Market Coffee. For the past 125 years, French Market Coffee has brought you all the flavor of New Orleans in a cup. Christwood, a retirement destination located in St. Tammany Parish, features cottages and apartment homes along with the assurance of quality health care. Personal tours are available. The New Orleans Tourism Marketing Corporation wishes visitors and citizens a happy Mardi Gras and a great year ahead. New Orleans visitor information available at followyournola.com.
New Orleans wouldn't be New Orleans without wrought iron, or the cathedral, or its ancient live oaks. And New Orleans wouldn't be New Orleans without Whitney Bank. Whitney Bank, a part of the fabric of New Orleans.
Adler's, honored to be part of New Orleans traditions since 1898.
And by Robert Fresh Market. Do you speak fresh? At Lakeview Grocery on Harrison Avenue. Abita Beer, craft brewed for the way Louisiana loves to live. Support comes from Baker Donaldson, lawyers and advisors proud to serve the business community and support local programming. Chaff McCall, proud to celebrate Carnival and honor the monarchs of Mardi Gras and the tradition of service before self. Poydras Home, independent living, assisted living, and nursing care in the heart of Uptown. This program is sponsored in part by a donation honoring the Pro Bono Publico Foundation's work in support of excellent schools for all New Orleans children. Additional support by Bellwether Technology. Additional funding is provided by the law firm of Adams & Reese, Mr. and Mrs. Jonathan McCall, Mignon Faget, Galatoire's Restaurant, and J. Edgar Monroe Foundation.